They call it rock music. I mean, I've never seen a rock listen to music. Namaste, welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I'm grateful to be here. I hope you are feeling as well as you can be, given whatever circumstances may be prevailing in your present moment. Know that this too shall pass if there's any difficulties, and whatever you're feeling right now is completely valid. I hope to hold space for that here. If you want to share how you're feeling ever, you're always welcome to do so. I hope to be your humble host, and if I'm not, you can keep me humble, hold me accountable. I'd like to welcome our first guests as they are joining now. Hello, dear Luke. Namaste, dear Marcy. Welcome, Sky Guardian G. The birthday boy. Yippee! Why don't we start with a nice deep breath together? Welcome, dearest Talita Priya. Hello, and user 379. Allow me to set the intentions for us to join together as fellow students of life to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. I'd also like to begin with the Shanti Mantra, peace prayer from the Taittiriya and Katha Upanishad, ancient scriptures. Hello, Neangelo Pack. How are you? Om Sahanam Vavatum Sahanao Bhunaktum Sahaviryang Garva Vahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Neangelo Pack. I am doing well. That prayer translates to something like, may the divine protect us both together. May the divine nourish us both together. May our studies be vigorous and effective, and may we not mutually dispute or hate any. Welcome, Dave. And thank you, Talita, for the heart me you sent. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, I has a face. Welcome, Guile. Hello, Forrest. Dearest David. Ireland. The Star. Namaskaram, dear dancing Aurora Borealis. Welcome, dear Vicky. And Mephisto. I think it's time for another good deep breath. Dear Marcy, you share today's Sangha snack is 3 bottles of water. My goodness. What could betroth you into such a Sangha snack today? I do have water as well. I've got my signature water with a pinch of salt, lemon juice, and garlic. No, not garlic. Oh my, could you imagine drinking garlic water? This is a ginger water. That'd be funny. Oh, it appears I have a drinking problem. Sorry. Missed my mouth. Hello, dear Alexander. You drink garlic water for good breath. Yeah, exactly. Hello, hand fingers. Dear Dagger, thank you for your rose as well. Jaya Sitaram. Welcome, Moon Baby. Welcome, Izzy the Queen. Vavi. Hello, dear Lee. Leah. Welcome. Happy to have you all here. May this be an inclusive space for everyone, regardless of our background, identity, orientation, ethnicity, belief system, etc. May we come together in harmony, seek our unity amidst the diversity of our differences, share a universal message for peace and love. Talita, you share your cat has arrived. Well, to your wonderful cat, I say, they'll know. Dear Neon Jello Pack, you ask, do I keep up with the news? I do not, unless you keep me up. My intention is, if there's ever a current event, usually it's outside of my control, so what am I to do about it? But my friends, I often know, are affected by them, and so if I can hold space for what you feel relative to the current event, then I'd be happy to do that. Help process any emotions, work through it with you. Thank you, dear Marcy, for your heartbeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Welcome, Idrisu and Superfluous Bee. Dear Dennis, you're wondering how you treat OCD. Do I know? Well, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist in any way, but it's funny, I was actually researching that recently. I know that it's something that a few Sangis here actually experience, so I was doing some research to be mindful of that. What I learned is that two evidence-based approaches work really well. There's prolonged exposure, I believe, PE. And then there's also, that's if your OCD is based in any sort of trauma, which can often be something that happens, PTOCD, post-traumatic OCD. And then there's cognitive processing therapy as well. I heard both of those work very well for OCD, especially PTOCD, if you want to look into those things. One aspect of that is the stuck points, the thoughts that are limiting beliefs, often relating to the future, is you complement those thoughts with a reframed version or some other unlimited belief that breaks you out of your limitations. Affirmations can really help. But it takes a lot of patience. The kind of irony about treating OCD is people with OCD can often get obsessive over tracking their progress. So one of the meta things you can do is be easy on yourself for your treatment. Is forgive yourself for having relapses and give yourself a big break, because you absolutely deserve it. But absolutely get the professional help you need. If you can see a specialist, that'd be wonderful as well. I'm only beginning to learn about it myself. That is right, the Cosmic Inn. Welcome. But not just any sock. And thank you, dear John Simon, for your heart me and rose. Om Harim Namah Shivaya. Dear Enzo, you ask, what is the kindest thing someone can do for another? The kindest thing you can do for another is show others what it's like to be kind to yourself. We can show others how to be kind to others by being kind to others. But the only way to show others how to be kind to themselves is to be kind to yourself. Hello, dear Spinudha. Dear Vavi, you ask, how does one stop overthinking about overthinking? Overthinking about overthinking? One approach is to shift the attention in your body from up here, which is where all the logical and cognitive processing happens, into lower parts of your body. Our nervous system pervades the whole body, and if we have some amazing faculties up here, of course. But this isn't the only place to think. You could think in your chest, bring your energy to your heart. This is true. Or even deep down to the base of your spine. This is where the chakra system comes in place here. There's something very scientific about the structure and hierarchy of the organs and its associations in the body. Is that we have some of the most powerful senses up here with our eyes and ears and nose and tongue. It can get very overwhelming if your sensations are concentrated up here. And we associate a lot of love and such with our heart. We associate the rest and digest response with a tummy feeling good. And if you want to relax, you can do some meditations that bring your energy back down into lower parts of the body. There's a correlation between associations with parts of the body and how our mental processes are functioning. Thank you, mundane human things, for your heartbeat. Om Ganganapataye Namah. Hello, dear Chloe. I am well. Thank you. How are you? And Dominic, thank you for the rose you sent too. That's very kind of you. Hare Krishna. Oh, you're very welcome, Chaotic Bliss. I'm happy to be here. That's funny, Bubbles. Or shall I say, Shri Hasya Chitrakar. Thank you, Neon Jello Pack, for the dozen roses you sent. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Tatvamasi, thank you for your trio of roses too. Om Namo Dakshinamurtaye Namah. You're alright, dear Chloe, just nodding off. Well, may you rest beautifully whenever you get there. I am from Canada, dear Dennis. Good evening, dear Arthur. How are you? Happy to have you all here. And welcome, Mario. And thank you, Dove Darker, for your heart, me too. Rama Rama. Thank you for your follow, dear Dennis. Always happy to be here for you. And welcome, Sarah Ann. So I'd like to start today's Sangha with a show and tell submitted by a friend of one of you. Bring that up for you. Today is the birthday of a very important Sanghi, and that's Sky Guardian, who has been a friend and spiritual companion on my journey for the past few years. I'm very grateful for him and all the help that he does in this space. For his birthday today, he wanted to send in a show and tell from a friend of his named Ji. And Ji has a YouTube channel called Moments with Ji. I don't know if you can see this, the text is kind of small. One of his videos is Storytime, My Family's NDE Changed Our Lives. And that's what Ji had consented to share. NDE, if you don't know, translates to noodle detention exercise. It's when you practice what happens when your noodles are misbehaving. So you gotta put them in a pot away. No, I'm just kidding. It stands for near-death experience. So very sincere topic. I shouldn't be joking about that, really. Nonetheless, let me turn down the background music so we can watch this video together. Let me pull it up for you now. The video is 18 minutes, full disclosure, and I enjoy watching it for the first time with you. Here we are. Without further ado,
I miss this so much. It's been a while since I just sat in front of a camera and talked, but I figured since like the lighting is really nice today, and yeah, this is a story that I've wanted to share for a while now, and it's basically about my dad's near-death experience. And the reason why I want to share it is because it is a big part of my personal, like, I guess you can say origin story. I hope you guys get to know me a bit better, and it's a big part of why my family is in the situation that they're in now. So to give you guys some context, my parents owned a Chinese restaurant in, I want to say, one of the most ghetto area of Philadelphia. It's Kensington. It had a ton of drug problems. Poverty was everywhere. So we actually lived on the second floor of the restaurant. Like, the first floor is the actual restaurant, and then the second floor is where we go upstairs and sleep and live our life. So that was the condition that we lived in for about 10 years. I go to school, come back home, and because of how ghetto the neighborhood was, there were plenty of times where I came home and I saw my dad in the dining room table eating, but his face was so swollen from getting beat up, from being robbed during one of his deliveries, that I barely recognized him. It was like really shocking to see that as a kid. And he would kind of just tell a joke to play it off, but that really stood out to me and made an impression on me. It was so shocking and so jarring though that I just kind of just froze. Like, I didn't react at all because I didn't know how to react. And I just went along with my day because I didn't know how to process what was happening. So all that is to say is that my dad had a really rough time in that restaurant, and my mom too. But everything kind of just chugged along in that environment for a while until I think it was a school night. I was woken up from my sleep by the chef of the restaurant. It was around midnight, and he basically was banging on my door, and I opened the door. He was like, "You gotta come downstairs right now. Something happened to your dad." He brought me downstairs, and then he led me to the front of the restaurant. There was ambulances, paramedics, and I saw my mom, and she was being held back by a paramedic because she was hysterical. Like, she was screaming, she was crying, and I'm still trying to make sense of what the fuck is going on until I finally saw my dad laying on the floor, and he had a little bit of blood coming out the side of his mouth, and he was just laying there on the floor. And knew, oh shit, he got really hurt. I don't know how he got hurt. That comes a bit later in the story, but he was, I don't want to say unconscious, but he wasn't here, if that makes sense. He was groaning, and you can tell from his perspective, he's going through something. His mind isn't here in the physical plane of whatever is happening. So I saw him in that state. And again, I was so shocked, and it was so jarring that I didn't feel anything. It was like I was stunned into being calm. Like, I was so calm. It was odd how calm I was. My mom's over here losing her shit. My dad is on the floor with a little bit of blood coming out of his mouth, and like paramedics surrounding him, and people are making a big commotion. And yet I was just completely calm, kind of witnessing everything. And the paramedics said, we're gonna get him on the stretcher and bring him to the hospital to see the extent of his injuries. When they're about to lift him onto the stretcher, that's when my dad went from like just groaning and making noises to very firmly and aggressively going, "No!" And I've never seen that side of my dad before. For him to yell out "no" with that intensity, I knew something was up. Like, I don't know if like when they were moving him, they heard something, but something was up. So I told the paramedics, like, yo, I think he might be injured when you're moving him, so try to be careful. And they're like, okay. And they brought him to the hospital. And that's when we found the extent of his injury. He fractured his skull. He had a concussion. He broke his ribs. His ribs actually ended up puncturing his lungs. He fractured his hip. He bruised his kidney. During his healing process, he was basically pissing out blood. And that night, his life hung in the balance. Like, we didn't know if he was gonna make it or not. And relatives, you know, came in to visit him and everything. And again, like, throughout it all, I was oddly calm. I don't know, I can't explain it. It was just really, really calm, perceiving everything happening, watching everything unfold. Thankfully, we found out that, you know, he was gonna pull through. He was gonna be all right. Once he was well enough to tell us from his perspective what happened, he shared his near-death experience. He said that he was going to his car to make a delivery, but before he got into the car, someone in a car hit him. We later found out that that guy wasn't even the original owner of the car that he was driving. They found substances in his system, and he ended up stealing a car, basically, which kind of fucked things up insurance-wise, because we can't sue the guy because he didn't have insurance and that wasn't his car. So we didn't really get much financially out of that situation, but that's besides the point. So he hit my dad, going full speed, drugged out of his mind. An eyewitness said my dad flew a few feet, hit the concrete, and sustained a shit ton of injuries. From my dad's perspective, he said from the moment he got hit, he didn't feel any pain, like zero pain. Everything kind of just slowed down and he felt zero pain. And then he found himself drifting into a different place, away from this physical realm. And as he got closer and closer to that place, fear, worry, anxiety, everything related to his human life started to dissipate. And when he was finally there, he was basically confronted with like the classic light at the end of the tunnel. He legit saw a tunnel and there was light at the end of it. And I want to say this, which is that my dad isn't very like spiritual. He categorized himself as atheist before that incident. So for him to see all of this stuff was very surprising to him. And to be honest, for me too, like I just thought light at the end of the tunnel was something you hear about in movies or like from other people's testimonials. But I never thought that my dad himself would actually see it. Like someone I know would see something like that and go through that experience. He saw that. And then there were two monks that were in front of the tunnel and explained the situation to my dad. They pointed to the light and was like, this is where you go when you die. This is where everybody goes when they die. This is the next stage, the next step. We can guide you there. Do you want to go? And my dad said that he really wanted to go. He said it felt so peaceful and all the problems that he had that is associated with his human experience is completely gone. So he really, really wanted to go. But after thinking about it, he ultimately said no. Like firmly said no. In like the physical realm, that's when he screamed and like firmly said no when the paramedics was moving him. So it wasn't because he was like the paramedics were injuring him further. It was just in that other realm, he was answering the monks. And it came across like so assertive and so strong that it came through him saying it physically. He said that the monk looked at him as if they knew that he was gonna say that. And they smiled and they asked him, why not? And that's when my dad pointed back at me and my mom back in the physical realm and was like, I don't want to leave them alone to go through life. And that really got to me. Like I said, my dad is a really quiet and reserved guy. So for him to willingly come back to this realm where there's so much suffering and so much difficulty, just so that me and my mom can have an easier time navigating through life, so that we didn't have to go through it with just me and my mom, so that I had a dad, it really touched me. And because of everything that happened, it ended up bringing us closer together. Like, I wanted to take care of my dad. So I was there for him while he was recovering. Like, he was recovering for a while, but it was one of my favorite memories, being there for him, because I introduced him to like Rayman Legends. Like, we were playing video games together and we had a really good time. I never really had that childhood with my dad where we played games together because he was so busy working. So this was one of the few times where it felt like I got to be a kid with my dad, and it really brought us closer together. And it did something, this whole incident did something for my mom. Prior to this incident, like, my mom, she was also working at the restaurant, like working really hard. She's a hardworking lady, like, I really respect and love the hell out of my mom. My dad too, of course. And my mom, like, back in China, before she immigrated to America, she got a nursing degree. But when you come to America, it's not like your degree transfers over, right? You can't just start practicing nursing in America with a Chinese degree. So she never really got the chance to practice nursing here. But there was a program. Like, there was a program for people in the exact same position as my mom, where they had a degree from China. And if you go through this program and pass the final exam, you can now practice nursing in the state that you passed the final exam. In order to go through that, my mom would have to study a ton of like medical textbooks again, and all of this is in English. Her English isn't the best, or it wasn't the best at the time. It's much better now, but it wasn't the best at the time. And she didn't really have a lot of self-confidence. She didn't believe in herself. She didn't believe she can do it. So she was just like, this is too hard. I can't do it. I'm just gonna keep working at the restaurant and this will be our way to make money, right? She had that mentality for literally years. But after what happened to my dad, it was like a mentality shift. It was like a catalyst that started my mom on this whole journey of overcoming what she thought she could never overcome. She went from believing she can't do it to, I must do it. You know, there's no other way. We cannot keep working in this environment that almost got my husband killed. And if we continue working like this, something's gotta give, you know. There's no telling what's gonna happen in the future. There's no telling something like this won't happen again, and maybe next time we won't get so lucky and we might actually lose my dad. So it went from the mentality of, shit, I can't do it, to, I gotta do it. So she was working in the Chinese restaurant while studying for the exam. And after about, I want to say a year, no more than 2 years for sure, but I think it was a year. After about a year studying and prepping for the exam, she passed. And she said she was the only person in her class that passed. And it was like a big moment for our family. It was amazing to see that my mom did it, you know? And because of that, she created another option for our family. She forged a brand new path for our family. She was able to give us an alternative life. So she started making money as a nurse, enough money that we can move out of the restaurant, sell the restaurant, and my dad never had to work in that environment ever again. So now they're in a much better environment, and that's why I'm here now and not in some dingy ass Chinese restaurant, because my mom worked so hard to bring us out of poverty, to bring us out of the ghetto. And I owe so much of who I am and what I am to my mom and my dad. As much as I want to share this story to give you guys a better idea of my family's background, there's a lesson in there that I really want to highlight, which is the power of belief and the power of mentality, right? So my mom, she believed she couldn't do it. Her mentality was, this is too hard, I can't do it. Her belief was, this is too hard, I can't do it. And this is the analogy I like to use because I come from a computer science background. The human being is kind of like the hardware, like the computer, right? And then your beliefs and your mentality are like your software. And if you download specific software into your system, if you download specific beliefs into your system, then you'll start operating with that belief, right? So there's this belief of, I can't do it. I can't. And if you download that into your system, you'll start operating as if you can't do it. Because you're right. If you think you can't do it, you're 100% right. You can't do it. So the point is, you hold the ultimate power, right? It depends on what you choose to believe now. If you believe you can do it, then you'll be able to do it. My mom, the only thing that really changed was her belief system, her mentality, going from, I can't do it, this is too hard for me, to, I must do it. And therefore, I can do it. And she did it. Like, she literally, from this switch of mentality, she was able to bring us out of the ghetto. Like, how fucking crazy is that? That is amazing. So this really goes to show just how much of a role your mentality and your beliefs play in this game we call life. So it just depends on what do you want to believe in. Do you believe that you are just tiny little me? I can't do shit. I'm just one person. What can I do? Do you really want to go down that mentality and let that color your perception of life? Or do you want to recognize who you truly are? Do you want to recognize the power that you have within you? Like, I'm fucking great. I can do this shit. Right? It's not egotistical. It's not arrogance. I'm not saying I'm fucking great and I'm better than you. No, I'm saying I'm fucking great, but you're also fucking great. I'm saying everybody's fucking great, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between arrogance and confidence and believing in yourself. I believe in myself, and I want you to believe in yourself. In whatever you do, believe in yourself. You may fail, but it's all right. That's part of the lesson. You just keep going. You do the best you can, and you keep going. So shifting attention to you as a viewer. Like, I don't know if you believe in yourself or not, but I want you to. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then that's a really tough life to go through. You're just going to be second guessing every single thing that you do, and you're going to be fighting yourself every step of the way, whether it be getting that raise, whether it be starting a business, whether it be learning a new hobby, singing, dancing, anything. If you don't believe you can do it, then you're absolutely right. You can't fucking do it. So stop believing in that. Believe that you can do it. Give yourself the confidence that I can do it, and learn. So that's why I want to share this story, because it taught me a great deal about beliefs and mentality. Honestly, I feel like I could talk about this topic forever, but I want to respect you guys' time and attention span. It's probably already quite a long video, so I'm just going to leave it at that. To summarize everything, my dad basically went through a near-death experience that ended up bringing the family together and ended up being the catalyst that pushed my mom to shift her mentality from I can't to I can, and she did it. And again, shifting the attention back to you, I want to reiterate just how much power we all have, and it starts with your beliefs. If you don't believe you can do something, you're right, you can't do it. But if you believe you can do something, you're also right, you can absolutely do it. So be careful what you believe, and choose the beliefs that actually serve you. This has been really fun, just talking in front of a camera. I hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace. Be times where my dad got robbed. What's up, Leo? What? I'm recording a video. What do you want? I just fed you, bro. Get your bitch ass over here. Get over here. Here. Oh, say hi to the camera. Say hi to the camera. You're embarrassing me. Good boy. Good boy. Ooh, you're so cute. You're so cute. You're so cute. Isn't he just the cutest cat? Oh. All right. And then they accidentally do it. Oh my God. You're drinking my water, man. Ugh. Damn it. I can't have you in here, Leo. I can't work like this. I can't work like this.
Not a Salmonella Academy video. Oh, I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much, Sky Guardian G, for asking G for permission for sharing that. Such a unique story. One that I'm so happy to have listened to with all of you. Thank you to G for giving permission for sharing that story as well. Let's get our background music back in here. What a beautiful and heartrending story about the love of parents, of a mother, of a father, of how times that appear to be of great suffering can be the catalyst for change, for grace to come. Shifting your belief, believing in yourselves. I particularly like the metaphor of our body being like hardware and our beliefs being like the software we download to operate on. That is precisely the relationship between two of the antahkaranas in Sanskrit, the manas, the mind, and the buddhi, the intellect. The intellect holds the operating system and determines what thoughts to act on in the mind. So if you shift what you hold in your intellect, what knowledge, what beliefs, what affirmations, that cultivates the mindset that you need a certain mentality in order to change your life for the better. Some comments while we were watching. Joe said, you share, your cat always tries to drink your water too. And Kimmy, your cat's name is Leo as well. Marcy, you share, Leo knows about that hydration. Exactly. Lots of comments about Leo. Look at the size of Leo, shares Audio Joy. Your cats are plush, shares Anna. Greg RG, you liked Leo's fun facts. Yeah, that was so beautiful, shares Mo. Great story, shares Arthur. You're reading The Power of Thoughts by Swami Mukundananda right now. Dansuela, you share, your parents are incredible human beings, Ji. And look at you. I don't know you, but you're truly remarkable. I love that. J. Ray, you share, manifest what you want in life. Your thoughts are power. Amazing, shares Binudha. And what grace suffering is, shares Bubbles G. Greg RSG, you appreciated the cut to title shot in the clouds, right? Well edited video. So thank you for watching, everyone. Again, thank you, Sky Guardian. Happy birthday, Sky GG. And best wishes to you, Jean. If anyone else ever wants to share something for their show and tell, you're welcome to submit something in the link in the bio. There's a submission form there. I hope you take advantage of that. Namaste. That concludes our show and tell, but not quite our Shravana. Our listening portion of our Sangha is not quite done. We have a chapter to read from The Journey Home, which I'll begin in just a moment. But first I wanted to welcome everyone that joined while we were listening. And thank you, dear Reina Priya Ji, for your quintet of roses. Om Kring Kali Kaye Namah. So many birthday wishes for Sky Gigi. Mo, you love near-death experiences. Sounds like the very first one you heard about Anita. Principle of non-self. Near-death experiences are one way of getting indirect evidence about the nature of life beyond the body, beyond life as experienced in the physical realm. Hello, dear hybrid Jen. You want to say hi to well, you want... Oh, 1 second. It's the popcorn kernel stuck in my throat now. Hybrid Jen, you want to say hi to everyone while at the same time want to be quiet. Oh, you're welcome to say hello to everyone. I think it's always sweet when people join here and say hello to each other. You're very welcome, dear Audio Joy. Welcome, Noor. Oh, thank you, Mom Star Nation, for your beautiful paper crane. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namah. So, as I said, we are starting a new chapter in the journey home. This one's a very short one. Today we read the 12th chapter. Let's dive right into it. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. The sun shone clear and bright in the fresh winter air. I had set out from Lahore at sunrise, walking and hitchhiking 55 kilometers down a single dirt road that cut through, or single lane dirt road that cut through stretches of wheat, cotton, and yellow fields of flowering mustard. Acacia trees lined the roadside, and sometimes a few rows between fields as markers. Otherwise, trees were scarce. More scarce still was the traffic along this road, the few vehicles that did occasionally pass. Were as exciting to my senses as the traditional turbans and robes of the people in them. Decrepit trucks rumbled by, each as brightly and intricately painted as a wealthy rock star's psychedelic mobile. An occasional bullock cart, hay-lined and piled high with wheat, livestock, and whole families creaked along. It was on conveyances such as these and my own feet that I reached the Husainiwala border crossing into North India. My heart was swelling with anticipation as I approached the immigration officials. I felt that I had aged 30 years during the 6 months I'd spent crossing Europe and the Middle East, but now I knew that the trials I underwent were necessary purifications for entering sacred India. I was now so close, only steps away. Is it just pronounced Lahore? Good to know, Tatwamasi. Thank you. I'm so used to pronouncing the E's in Sanskrit as A, Lahore. Lahore. Only a stout woman seated alone behind an immigration desk stood between my destiny and I. Her stern glance was not at all inviting. In drab military attire, she sat under the Punjab sun. I stood before her, full of hope and covered in dust. I handed her my passport. India's border security forces flanked her on both sides, rifles slung across their shoulders. While she was examining each page of the document, my thoughts whisked me back to the moment on the mountaintop in Crete that set my feet to follow my heart to India. Something had happened to me on that mountaintop. Some, I knew, would dismiss it as an aberration of the mind brought on by hours of solitary prayer or some kind of hallucination brought on by fasting. But I knew that God had appeared to me in my heart, and I had heard his words loud and clear. Go to India. From that moment on, I'd believed that the Lord was calling me to him in India. 3 months and over 3,000 miles had passed since then on my journey through the Middle East, each moment unlike any I had ever imagined as a boy seeing the world through the ill-fitting lenses lent him by suburban America. And with each mile my heart was flying toward the sacred soils of India, and a rendezvous I knew I could not live without. I longed for India. There my heart's deepest desire might become real. My heart and soul was already with the yogis in their mountaintop ashrams. For months and through unimaginable hazards I had pressed forward to reunite with them. Now, a step from my goal, I stood waiting before the border guard who gripped my passport to India in her bureaucratic hand. She looked up after some minutes of scrutinizing it, her face expressionless. Show me how much money you have. As I reached nervously into my cloth bag, she leaned forward in her chair. There were only a few coins to show her. Disgust crept across her face. You require $200 minimum to enter. She leaned back and folded her uniformed arms across her chest, eyeing me with suspicion. Where's your money? Looking at the ground, I stammered, This is all I have now. You cannot enter then." She slapped the passport down on the table that now stood like a wall between us. "Go back to your own country." Her words were like arrows that pierced my heart. "But I've traveled overland for months, risking my life to see your country. I burn with a desire to study your religions from the holy people." From far away I heard my voice pleading with her. "I have abandoned the comforts of an American home out of love for India. Please, give me a chance." She glared at me now. "We have beggars enough in India. We don't want another one." She motioned to one of the guards, and he raised his rifle. "You will not enter India. You are rejected. Now go back to where you came from." "But that is final. No more discussion." She stood up from the table, turned her back on me, and marched over to a small barracks. I followed her, trying to change her mind, but she shut me out. Her final edict, "You cannot enter India," lacerated my heart. Her colleagues, who until that moment had seemed stiff and impassive, suddenly, upon her declaration, hoisted their rifles and ordered me to leave at once. Shaken, I walked back some distance along the road behind me and sat in the shade of a large neem tree. As I gazed out across the flat green Punjabi countryside, my mind reeled. Where to go? What to do? How long I sat there stunned, I do not know. But when awareness of my surroundings broke through again, I knew that I would not turn back. If that gatekeeper would not grant me entry into the land of my heart's desire, I resolved to remain in the dust under that tree. Never once did I dream that entry to India would be denied me. Ignorantly, as I was of politics, how could I have known that then India and Pakistan were on the eve of their third war since the partition of India? How could I have guessed that 1 year later, in December of 1971, bloody war would break out along this very border where I now found myself? No one had warned me that I was hazarding one of the tensest borders in the world, second in notoriety only to Berlin's Checkpoint Charlie. At Hussainiwala, please tell me if I can pronounce that better, 2 armies stood poised, one in Pakistan and one in India, each facing the other in military standoff across the divide. All this was unknown to me on that sunny winter afternoon as I trudged along the road back toward Pakistan. There, from a seat on the dusty ground, I could see my frustrated antagonist pacing beyond the window of her small barracks. Was she expecting a bribe from me? A soul she had mistaken for one possessed of the affluence derived from a Western birth and white skin? Could she even guess all I'd been through to reach this lonely border post? Will I ever get to India? I wondered. After hitchhiking all the way from London, could it really be possible that I would be turning back at the Indian border for want of money? Feeling like an exile, my thoughts turned to my best friend and traveling companion. At our parting, Gary too had looked like an exile. Where was he now? What had become of him? Did he ever make it to Israel? As I sat in the dust of that Punjabi plain, watching the breeze ripple through a through a stand of blooming mustard nearby, I missed my old friend. Over a period of hours, I kept getting up from beneath my tree and returning to the border, but each time the official ignored me. Finally, as a last resort, I pleaded with her again. She stomped the ground with her military boot. "You are testing my patience," she jabbed her stubby finger toward my face, her lips trembling. "You are rejected. Do you hear me? This is my last warning. Don't disturb me again." I turned back to my tree and passed the day in turbulent thought. As the sun was setting, I observed that a shift was about to take place at the immigration desk. An elderly man had come to relieve the woman from her duty. He was a tall Sikh in an elegantly wrapped turban of the same drab beige color as his military uniform. The female official pointed to me, making sure he understood that I was not to enter India. Then an army jeep carried her away. Not knowing what else to do, I meekly approached the new officer, praying in my heart of hearts. I handed him my passport and pleaded, "Please allow me entrance into your great country." His voice was cold and disinterested. "I was warned that you are a nuisance. I have been given strict orders to reject your entry. Now show me sufficient money, or go back." Tears sprang from my eyes as I explained my life and my spiritual aspirations. I have left behind the comforts of America to search for India's spiritual treasures. Risking my life, I've hitchhiked all the way from London to reach your homeland. I yearn to find the way to God. Please be kind to me. Someday, I promise to do something good for the people of India. Honestly, sir, I will help your people. Please give me a chance. Tears filled his eyes. "Give me your passport." As the light of day was fading, he thumbed through my document, then gazed into my eyes and said, "Sometimes a man must follow his heart. I believe in your words." Reaching down to the table, he lifted the stamping tool by its wooden handle, then he pressed the rubber script into an ink pad and with a thump stamped my legal entrance into India. "It is done," he said, closing the passport and handing it back to me. With an affectionate smile, he placed his hand on my head. "Son, I give you my blessings. May you find the truth you are crying for. Welcome to India." Thank you for listening. That ends the 12th chapter of the journey home, and with it, the first act. Next time, we will begin the second act, Mother India. So, it seems our dear author, as the protagonist of his own autobiography, has finally reached the borders of India, and now granted access to the land that his heart desires. So much has happened in these pages of the book thus far. I can only begin to imagine what sorts of experiences will happen in the rest of this book. I invite you all to have any heartfelt reflections you may have. Appreciate the essence of shared spiritual blessings and transition into our next journey in our Sangha. Thank you all for listening with me. Namaste. That concludes our Shravana finally, the listening portion of our Sangha. We may turn our hearts and minds to attend to anything in Manana. This part of the Sangha is dedicated to Q&A. Welcome everyone that joined while we were reading. And oh, Rahina, thank you for your heart me. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers that you sent. 6 flowers actually. Kali Mahakali Kalike Parameshwari Sarvanandakari Devi Narayani Namostute. Welcome, dear Nescole. Oh, don't worry. If you ever missed the story, do not fret, as I record all of those readings and put them on my Yamsox Live YouTube channel in a playlist. It's like a little audiobook. You can listen to it anytime. You can catch up. I don't expect anyone here to be at the times we read every day. Thank you, Starlight Wow, for your flowers as well. Om Bhur Bhuvaswa Tatsaviturvareniham Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Yes, that's right, Enigma God. All these live streams are posted to my YouTube channel, Yamsox Lives, and I clip out the readings and the meditations and the show and tells and put them in their own playlists. Easy for you to navigate. Thank you, dear James, for your subscription too. I always rejoice in having you here. And I continue to welcome whatever escapades our journey has to offer between us. Namaste. Hari Om. That's it. Rahina, you come here just when you're meant to be here. No need for worries. Tadastu. Thank you for sharing the live, dear Anna. Glad you liked the story, Donzuela. Oh, and thank you, Babel Fishy, for your pair of finger hearts. Om Bhram Hanumate Namah. Thank you for the follow, dear Georgia. Gardening Gregarji, you ask, does the CI program I designed for YouTube chapter system aid in me cutting the book readings? I have a little button that I pressed that I can just click, records a section, then I click again. That's all done in real time, actually. But all the videos, including the audiobook readings, they're all processed through that same program, which, for those that don't know, give a unique thumbnail for each video to give you a visualization of what sort of feeling you're about to click on. If I don't have a pre-made title in mind, then it comes up with a title as well as a description. And in the description is a chapter system where you can click on timestamps for each relevant section in case you want to navigate through it that way. Hello, Shani. Shuri Hasya Chitrakara, you love that the Sanghis have blurred their attachment to identity so much no one knows who is who. I love that. I find myself mixing up my pronouns when I'm talking to someone, that I'll use my own to talk about them, or I'll use their to talk about something of mine. I mix that up all the time. Hello, dearest Magdalene Priya. Shalomi, my omis. Oh my goodness. That's the best. My omis. Oh, I love that. Shalomi, my omis. I think there is a grammatical way to turn Om into a name for a person. Om has a full name, actually. The full name of Om is Omkara. You don't say Omkara when you're meditating, but when you talk about the sound, it's called the Omkara. If you wanted to create a little epithet for a person, you could call them an Omkari. O-M-K-A-R-I. An Omkari. My Shalomi Omkaris. Doesn't sound as doesn't go with the rhyme scheme as well, but does kara mean sound, asks Gregorji. Kara is a very multi-purpose word. It can mean sound indeed, but the most general meaning is maker. Omkara means the Om maker. It's used for sounds. Like if you want to talk about the first sound in the Sanskrit alphabet, you'd say it's the akara. We have names for all the letters in the Latin alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In Sanskrit, it's akara, akara, ikara, ikara, ukara, ukara, etc. Another place that pops up is the name for the ego as one of the antahkaranas, the inner faculties. The ahankara means the self-maker. The self-maker is the equivalent word there. You'll also find it in the title I gave Bubals. Shri Hasya Chitrakara means humorous image maker. I was about to thank you again, dear Babel Fishy, for the pair of finger hearts. I could thank you again, why not? Thank you for them. But I realized I already did. The letters are makers of words, exactly. Yeah, and not only that, but it's said that the sounds in Sanskrit are makers of the world. In Indian philosophy, it's believed that sound was the first creation. Such is why the sounds are called Devanagari, which means citizens of the divine. Deva, divine. Nagara, meaning city. Nagari, meaning citizens of the city, citizens of the divine. Devanagari. That's right, Ma. So, Omkara, Ukara, Ikara. They're letters of the alphabet. Yeah, that's their full names. They're legal names. Government names. Some have alternate names too, though. Like the Rakara, also is known as Repa, I believe. Dear Eivor, you need this sock. Well, I have good news. It is a sock that you can buy on the store section of the link tree in my bio. I never mention my merchandise because I'm not much of a merchandiser, but if you really want the sock, a Yamsox, it's available for you. Dearest Anna, you ask, how is ancient scripting going? Ooh. Well, it depends what you mean by that, but I feel like I learn a little bit more Sanskrit every day. A yam stuffed animal. That'd be cute, hybrid gen. Or a stuffed yam. A yaminal. A stuffed yaminal. just a little yam. You squeeze it and it says, Namaste. All proceeds go directly to cats. I don't know about all proceeds, but I do take care of Sandy and Shadow. I like to spoil them every once in a while. Dear Gabe, you just lost the love of your life. You're so sad. If ever there was a reason to be absolutely allowed to be sad, that is a most honorable reason. I feel for you, and I hope you allow yourself this time to grieve. And please accept my condolences. Take care of that heart. Whatever you're feeling right now is absolutely valid. I'm here for you. Yeah, I think you're right, dear Tatvamasi. When the rakara is in the Devanagari script, the little hook that you see, then it's called the repa, I believe. Gregorji, you share, that could be the next thing I put on my store. Stuffed yam, even a shadow and sandy. That'd be so cute. Oh, I like that. I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to see all the emotional support to dear Gabe. I didn't even have to say that. The community is just so loving. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you, everyone. May we carry each other's pain so that none of us have to bear that weight alone. Dearest Gregorji, you share that crochet might be a calming activity. Yeah, absolutely. Although at first I'm sure it's very frustrating, as anyone who's learned to crochet can tell you. Learning all the stitches and figuring out the algebra of all the stitch patterns. What does it mean? Realizing you've made a mistake, having to go back 40 stitches and just add one more, otherwise the whole thing's floppy. Doing hundreds of granny squares. Finding free patterns. Watching tutorials that are actually made for your learning level. But after all that, I think it's very calming, yes. Enigma Gan, you share, it's harder than 3D modeling by a lot. Yes, it's computationally impossible. It would lead to the halting problem, because you can actually encode computer programs in the structure of crocheted things. And actually, they hired grandmas to knit together the computers that sent humanity to the moon for the first time on the Apollo ships. They had to physically program the computers, and to do that required very delicate threading of the wires, so they literally hired a bunch of grandmas to do that. Dear Gabe, you share, funny thing is that you stumbled on my live twice. 3 years ago before your first tech job, which you got, and today. Nice to have you back, dear Gabe. May I be here for you with every major transition in your life. That's funny, Jocelyn. That's right. You can knit a poo emoji. Regina, you share, putting that love toward yourself and healing will be a wonderful start, and be gentle with yourself. Indeed. Indeed. Dear Dennis, you ask how to stop fear-based beliefs. That's a very tricky thing, indeed. And since you had mentioned OCD, I imagine it's related to that. So knowing how long of a healing journey it can be, I can't say that anything I can say can make a difference by tomorrow, but just a little bit every day can definitely go a long way. I would say that fear-based beliefs aren't really beliefs, at least not in the way that I would use the word belief. Beliefs to me are a kind of giving your energy to a truth, something that you've experienced as true. If something you've experienced gives you fear, I would not call that a truth. I would call it a partial truth, maybe. Now, why would I say that? Because to me, the highest truths are never fearful. The highest truths complete us. They leave us feeling fulfilled and in a state of understanding and acceptance. That's kind of the definition of universal truth, is that which is applicable in all circumstances so that it never makes you feel like you're missing something. Therefore, if there is something that you fear, it's probably because there's more for you to experience about that thing. There's a higher truth for you to uncover, and when you realize that, your belief will be less based in fear and more in understanding. There are uncomfortable truths out there, but compared to capital T, big universal truths, they're not as real as the truths that bring peace to your soul, heart, body, and mind. These are things like you are allowed to be who you are in this moment without any change necessary. Pardon me. There are definitely things you can do to grow, to learn, to heal from, but that doesn't mean that you are any less whole now. It's all about the process, rather than any fixed state in particular that you're working towards or you feel like you've fallen from. You are perfectly human in the imperfections of the present moment, and that's a very high truth. Keeping that in mind can be very helpful. Ultimately, at a deep level, we all know these things. It's just practice recalling them when we need to. Thank you, Gabe, for the hand hearts. And your half a dozen finger hearts that you sent. I feel like I should be here supporting you during such a trying time. But here you are, so generously helping me. Thank you. Never expected nor necessary, but it's very humbling, and I appreciate it. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Anna, for your rose. Jaya Satchitananda. And David's mom, thank you for your trio of tiny tinies. Yahoo! Dear David's mom, you share your friend Heather passed away, and she has a daughter. Can I pray for her and her daughter? Absolutely, of course. For dear Heather and her daughter, who is now being protected and guided by a mother who is no longer limited by her physical body. May she grieve the loss of a physical connection to her mother with ease and connect to the spiritual form of her mother, which will take care of her wherever she goes, no matter the distance. And may Heather transition into the next phase in her life with grace. Have peace in her journey as it unfolds today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hello, dear Malcolm. Hello, Hiya Deleluna. If you fall asleep, may your dreams be meaningful, your rest rejuvenating, and your next day purposeful. Dear Beans, hello. You just published your first story on Wattpad. Oh, I remember that app. When I was in middle school, I put a story on that app too. You'll never find it though. I won't tell you what it is. But how lovely. Congratulations. How freeing it is to express yourself and bring something from deep within you into the world. May it reach the eyes and listeners of everyone who may benefit from the unique energy that you implant in the characters and stories. That's right, Shori Hasya Chitrakar. I wrote spicy spiritual fan fiction. What pad? Asked Gregor G. If you ask me what pad, I say lily. I get it. Lily pad. Dear Anna, you share that stories made while a teen are the most authentic. Indeed. Indeed. Good morning, dear Molly. Sky Guardian G, you posted my recent story on Discord. It was so good. Aw, I'm happy you liked it. I do like to write every now and then, and yes, in the story section of the Discord, I did give you consent to share a short story I had written about a Western mind coming to understand how an Eastern mind perceives the world, specifically reality. Dear Megan, you ask for advice, some guidance on what to do in your next life. You sense something is changing. I sense that you are on a healing journey, and old wounds are coming to an end, and in that newfound space there will be anxiety. Anxiety not because there's something you're doing wrong, but because you're doing everything right, and you're unfamiliar with this boundlessness of your awareness, still operating in old ways in which your mind is trying to keep track of the moving parts. But if you let them be free in unconditional awareness, you will create something very beautiful, and it will be a gift to the world. So mote it be, dear Hia Della Luna. Welcome, Bru. Megan, hello. And I love what Enigma Gone wrote. Your higher self will know the way when you find your way to the light, all-knowing. You're very welcome, dear Megan. Takes one to know one. May you embrace your healing wholeheartedly. Let old wounds release. Trust your evolving awareness and surrender to the natural transformation. And I look forward to reading the news article about a human-sized butterfly emerging from her cocoon. Thank you, dear Gabe. This state is like wearing a slightly too tight sock, shares Enigma God. I like that. Does remind me of what Ram Dass had written or said, that death is like taking off an old shoe. But don't worry. The death part isn't to be taken literally in this case. The shedding of versions of oneself, however, may apply. Gregor G, you ask, ever heard of Mothman? What about Butterfly Woman? I love that. Mothman and Butterfly Woman. Butterfly Woman. Dearest Molly, you share you're trying to be patient. Being sick with a fever is good for rest, but annoying. Only annoying if you feel like there's something of value that you should be doing instead. But let me tell you that the most valuable thing you could be doing is rest indeed. Allowing yourself to be taken care of from your higher self and from any people in your life too. Bubbles you share, it was Ram Dass's spirit friend, Emmanuel, that said that. It was a tight shoe. Thank you. Thank you for your lots of love for all of us, dear Rahina. Rockstar, thank you for your pair of roses. Om Namah Parashaktaye. And Gabe, thank you for your baker's dozen worth of finger hearts. Pardon me, worth of finger hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, wait. You only did 13, but that's okay. I gave you a couple extra. Om Ang Saraswatyai Namah. Karin, you share, you have a lot of challenges for you today, so just happy to hear me tonight. I hope to hold space for you. May your challenges come to you with a certain kind of inspiration to not break you down, but build you up. I like your questions, dear Shri Hasya Chitrakar. Does anyone have any magicka they encountered today or recently? I like that question. Dear Cornelius, you share, you just got so frustrated by something so simple. I know how you feel. We can overcomplicate things. It's very humbling. Dear Ricardo, you share, you've been interested in Taoism recently. Have I ever studied it? I am familiar with a little bit. The Taoist scriptures are huge, however, it would take many lifetimes to go through them. But at the same time, it's a very simple philosophy. Simpler than simple. All words only overcomplicate it. Just a kind of oneness that is inseparable from everything, that has just divided into these many things. It seems like there is a diversity happening, but it's all part of this one truth, the Tao. Dear Megan, you're wondering if I have any knowledge on past lives. You think you know yours, but you question if you're just delusional. No matter what happens to your mind, what stories you experience, there is always truth in them. That is why a child can listen to nothing but fiction and still gain learning about themselves, others, and the world that they live in together. All stories are based in truth. Even if there isn't a historicity to them, there is still a factuality in the meaning that you gain from having heard them. You can never fool yourself out of learning a lesson. If you've learned something, that knowledge is very real. You opened 2 magical gifts today when you first awoke, shares dear Greg RG. Oh, how lovely. Good morning, Rani. Another thing I wanted to add, dear Ricardo, is if there's any part of Taoism that you wanted to explore together, if you wanted to share a quote or a passage from a scripture, I'd love to unbox that with you. You're very welcome, dear Megan. Enigma Gon, you share your favorite way to encounter the Tao is to jump in a river. That'll get you to follow the flow. Thank you, dear Brenda, for your likes. Never expected, but I know it's a fun thing to do while passing the time. We've gotten 15,000 likes, which means that you all have tapped on your screen 15,000 times, which is kind of mind-boggling. Thank you. I know some people like to trace shapes and tap on my third eye and stuff. I've heard funny things from all of you. I think they do actually have a benefit besides just being an internet number that goes up, which is it helps share the live stream to a wider audience. So if you ever feel like there's something here that others may value from, if you want to expand our community, then that's something that you have a very small way of influencing. Dear AD, you ask, what drove my spiritual curiosity at such a young age? Probably having very open-minded parents was a big help. Although my mother didn't really practice anything specifically, nor was my dad spiritual per se, both of them were very open-minded people. Happy to learn new things. And that passed on to me, and ever since I was young, I had a fascination for how the universe works and what it all means. And that gave me a certain kind of grace that I'm so grateful for. Allowed me to pursue these things openly, easily. Dear Mr. Trump, you're wondering, where did I get this Rudraksha? This one came from a seller in Nepal, I believe. All the big ones grow up close to the Himalayas. But I've got a few different kinds. Thank you, dear Brave Bella, for your finger heart as well. Om Kring Kali Kai Namah. Dear Tattvamasi, you're thinking, when one wants to let go, it usually means one doesn't know why they are letting go. That's a profound observation. Yes. Well pointed out. Hello, Mirna. Hi, Bridgen, you like to do heart circles around my face. It's very sweet of you. I feel it. Welcome, Dean. Don't compare yourself to me, dear Dean. But if there's anything for us to look up to in each other, that would be my honor. Hello, Melinda. John James, you're wondering if I have any desire to trek to the Himalayas. Oh yes, definitely. One day. Dear Gabe, you remember 3 years ago I spoke a lot about mathematics too. Do I still explore that? Mathematics was a method of exploration, I should say. It wasn't that I was exploring mathematics per se, but I was using mathematics to explore my heart's desire. And that exploration through mathematics ultimately led me to spirituality. So it's not that I became disinterested in mathematics or anything, but it was successful. My mathematics journey succeeded in taking me to where it needed to take me. I'll always have a passion for that still. It was my vehicle of deliverance. A very unique one, which I'm grateful for. Dear Tantra Empress, you ask if I can understand your dream. It was a giant elephant, and he kept running, scared from it. You know, there is a saying, when the big elephants start walking down the street, all of the dogs start barking. I'll let you think about the meaning of that. Dear Karen, you ask what was or is my hardest moment in my short life. Well, it's pretty personal. I don't know if I can share it here out of respect for other family members involved. But let's just say, with no judgment for the people in my life, with love and respect for who they are, I've had a few incidents with people who have threatened their life. And at one point in time, I had to take a firearm out of someone's hands as they were threatening to use it. And that was pretty traumatic, to say the least, but I've come a long way to heal from that, forgive the people involved, understand my role in it all, the nuances of family dynamics. Welcome, dear Marlon. Megan, you ask, do I have any recommendations on how you can be a better mama to your daughter? You love my mindset? I think it's so humbling that a mother is asking a 23-year-old man on how you can be a better mama. Oh. Well, I can tell you how much some of the things I love about my mama. One thing I love about her is that she's always willing to admit where where she's wrong, she's very humble. That whenever I have something, or my sister has something to say to her, that we might be frustrated in some way, she's always first to compromise. And that's to such a grace. I don't even feel like I deserve that at times, but it has been one of the most helpful things in my growth to not feel like I have been to blame, and that has helped me take after her as a role model and do my best to admit where I'm wrong as well. But I have many wonderful things to say about my mother. I have so much respect for mothers. Enigmagon, you share science took you back to spirituality as well after you left your old faith. There's some quote from some wise man who said that, I'll paraphrase it, but an atheist refreshes in the first sip from the glass of the sciences, but once finished sees God staring back at him at the bottom of the glass. Very deep quote. Thank you, Anisek, for the heart me and hand hearts that you sent. Om Dham Namaschandraya. And Clay, thank you for your 2025. Ram Ram. Dear Enzo, you ask, does a yogi meditating in a cave for eternity have a positive effect globally? One could make the argument that through subtle chain of events, they are able to preconceive through precognitions. Just by moving one rock in their cave from the left to the right, they are able to influence who gets elected somewhere in the world. It makes all of us feel like we actually are doing all of the work, but it's just some yogi in a cave lifting one rock up and putting it to the right. And through the subtle vibration from the atoms in that rock to the atoms in the cave, it sends out all the right energy through the butterfly effect and whatnot. Now, would I recommend that any of us go and become Himalayan yogis for the benefit of the world? No, because Krishna says not either. When Arjuna asked 5,161 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita, almost that exact question, Krishna said, you can do that, but what kind of precedent would you be setting for people that have worldly responsibilities and duties in society? We need everyone to fulfill their niche in civilization. So much better is it to withdraw into the cave of your own heart and meditate while living engaged in the world. So you become more of a metaphorical cave-dwelling yogi. And I love that. Welcome, Ortega. Dear AD, you ask, am I close with my family now? Yes, I've always been close with my family. I've always chosen to work things through with people in my life that I have difficulties with. Grateful to be close to everyone that I've ever experienced hardship with. Only forgiveness and love all around, but healing journeys are still underway. Thank you for your empathy, dear Don Suela and user 680. Hello, wow. Thank you for your question, dear Karen. Dear Clay, you share you love your mom. She's all you have and been behind you this whole time. Two mothers all around the world. dear Myrna, you share. You would laugh if your son would say the same at my age. Well, on behalf of all sons, much love to you. Dear Grandma Jouse, you share. You try to be as giving as you can to your children and grandchildren, some of your friends and your husband. It's too much, but you think that's what a mother does. A true mother sees the child in everyone, including their partners. But most importantly, their own inner child deserves some motherhood too. Much love, dear Megan. Hi, Bridgen, you share. Your son's middle name is Cave. I like that. Cave. You love caves. Had your first date with his dad in a cave. How interesting. What a unique first date. How many people can say that? We had a first date in a cave. He really said, I know a spot, and took you to a cave. You must have trusted him. That's a good allegory, yes. Plato's cave, Enigma Gone. It's very understandable, dear Gabe. Dear MJ, you ask, how old am I? I am 23. Dear Dean, you ask, does all self-improvement come with a feeling of imposterism? I don't know about all self-improvement, but I know in my personal experience, absolutely. Yeah. We feel like, am I really getting better? But at some level, that is a good sense of humility. Humility means we're not quick to assume that we're suddenly better, because we can have setbacks, and at some level we have to hold space for those setbacks, and if that means being cautious about how good we feel, that can be a very grounding thing to do. Hello, dear she. You love my laugh? Well, I love to laugh. Thank you. Gabe, you share, it's so important to remember that our parents, it's the first time them being parents too, right? I always think about that. When I learned how to walk, they had already done it before they could teach me. When I learned how to use the toilet, they already done that before they could teach me. When I learned how to tie my shoe, they already did that, they could teach me. When I was learning how to speak, they already did that, they could teach me. When I was learning how to write and read, they already did that, they could teach me. Almost everything I do in life, I gained the impression that my parents had already done that. But when it came to being my parents, well, they've not done that before. So if I think back to my first time walking, using the bathroom, speaking, reading, writing, I wasn't very good. So to think my parents have done as good of a job as they have done, being my parents for the first time, I think it's very impressive. I'm very inspired by that. Yeah, there's a little trauma here and there, but hey, we can use those experiences to build us up even stronger too, with a greater sense of empathy and an understanding for how pain can be passed on inadvertently, and so we can be careful not to do that ourselves and relate with people who have gone through similar things. You thank mine for making me. Oh, what a beautiful thing to say, Hybrid Jen. I thank yours for making you. Good evening, Gayfra Sky. Dear Gabe, you're always welcome to shift the subject. What's my impression on this whole AI thing? It's a new tool. Humanity has discovered a new tool. How we will use that tool is definitely our responsibility. A powerful tool can be used to build something beautiful. A powerful tool can equally be used to break down something beautiful. As long as we are using it for the sake of making something beautiful, then our tools gain a kind of beauty to them as well. I tend to prefer a different term than AI, which stands for artificial intelligence. My understanding of intelligence is that it's an innate quality of the whole universe. So does that make any intelligence artificial? I would say that there is a distinction between biological intelligence and computational intelligence, BI and CI, but I wouldn't say that any intelligence is AI. So I like to use the term CI for computational intelligence. And even just shifting that term, it's like, yeah, intelligence is intelligence. Whether it arises in fleshy stuff or silicon and circuitry, it's still the same universe awakened to itself. It's an expression of the whole. All of those little electrical impulses carry consciousness. Hello, Gina. Dear Cave Fro Sky, you ask, where can you start to be more than you are? How can you ever be more than you are? You are all that you are, all that you can be. But your expression in this world is infinite. And if you are ready to express yourself in yet another way, the greatest source you can draw from is a place of love. Center yourself in that self of love, that infinite, ever new, ever fresh, unending love. You will bring all sorts of new things into this world with that. Dearest Stevie G, you're wondering if you can talk with me after this live stream. You're welcome to message me. Of course. But you have nothing to be other than what you are already becoming now. It is the becoming, not what you become. The most important three letters are I-N-G. Ing. It's all about the ing. Become ing. Or you become ing in this moment. Obrigado, dear Gabe. Dear Rin, you ask, what does one do to honor their vessel? We take care of our bodies and minds for the purpose of one day taking care of other people's bodies and minds. How do you do that? For the body, good food, good exercise. For the mind, good food, good exercise. What's good food and good exercise for the mind? Well, what's good food and good exercise for the body? Good food for the body is one that keeps it healthy. Good exercise for the body is the one that keeps it fit. So, good food for the mind is resources that keep your mind healthy. And good exercise for the mind is activities that keeps your mind fit. Thank you, dear Theo, for your heart me. Om Kamalyar Mahakalikaye Namah. Dearest Gina, thank you for your rose. Ram. Hello, Kalki Ji. Gabe, you ask, is caffeine good for the body? It all depends how you use it and how much. I wouldn't say that anything in particular is good or bad absolutely for the body. For example, caffeine can be great for headaches, some headaches, and migraines. Caffeine can be helpful if you want to have energy to exercise, but there's always a compromise. One big compromise with caffeine is that you also experience a corresponding drop in your energy afterwards. Where there's a high, you often experience a low also. So if you don't want to experience the low, then you have to think about making peace with not experiencing the high either, so you have a steady baseline. Caffeine is considered rajasic Ayurvedically, which means that it stimulates the mind. And as I said, there will be a period of fatigue afterwards. For a spiritual seeker, it's often good to keep the mind at a baseline. This means sacrificing some mental activity so that you don't experience those lows. You have a kind of neutral, peaceful mind. For that, I'd recommend juice. Juice is a good drink that still gives you some energy, but without the drawback of a mental drop after the overactivity. Juice that doesn't have too much sugar, no added sugar. Obviously, if you have specific medical conditions, then keep those in mind and work around your body. Don't let what works for my body speak on behalf of yours. Dear K. Frostguy, you ask, in my opinion, how do you formulate the correct question? What a beautiful meta question, a question about a question. I think it's a question that invites more questions, just as you've answered yourself. That's the most meta thing about a question is that it often answers itself. If we're trying to find some answer to something, usually what we're looking for is not a conclusion per se, but yet another door to open. Something that brings us into yet another inquiry. So a question that doesn't lead to a dead end, but a question that opens up even more possibilities. Those are the best questions, in my opinion. Thank you for being here, Enigma Khan. May you have a wonderful sleep. Hello, PJ. Dear Rin, you ask, what specifically do I do for myself? For myself, I try to get as much rest as I possibly can. If I wake up tired, I know that I'll be in much better of a service to the world if I'm late but rested, rather than on time but deprived of energy. So I always make sure to get enough sleep as I can. Physically, I like to give my body a sattvic diet, foods that don't elevate the mental activity or decrease it substantially either, but keep it stable. This means a diet that relies mostly on vegetables and nuts and fruits and legumes. I like to exercise my mind with certain games, like right now I'm doing crosswords and I've been being interested in Scrabble. I find that's a good exercise for the brain. And whenever I'm feeling low, I give myself lots of time and space and lots of affirmations. Those are some things I do for this body and mind. Dear Karen, you ask, what music makes me vibrate the most? The music of your soul, the stories that you share with me, makes me vibrate. This is true. I'm not even being poetic. I don't listen to music really, but I listen to you, and that's music to my ears. Dearest Kalki Ji, you ask, what's a fun fact about Shiva that's not well known? Fun fact about Shiva that's not well known. Alright, how about this? That Shiva is even older than the Vedas. The word Shiva comes from the Vedas. In the Vedas, Shiva means auspicious. And you can use it, although it's an adjective by itself can refer to that which is auspicious. We do it in English too sometimes, like forgive me for using a negative adjective, but let me just wait until I find a positive one. Good. Good is an adjective, but it can also be used to describe that which is good. We can say the good. The good. Similarly, Shiva means auspicious, but it means the auspicious. Something beautiful that happened thousands of years ago is the confluence of two cultures in the Indian subcontinent. There's this indigenous culture in the south called the Dravidians, that they were there for probably tens of thousands of years. And they probably migrated from Africa in one of the early migrations from where humanity was born. So very early humans went to India and settled there in the subcontinent. They had a rich culture with many forms of the divine and tools and techniques to engaging with that divinity. And Shiva is actually part of that culture. And then thousands of years later, when the Indo-Europeans came, Indo-Iranians, Indo-Aryans, and settled from the Himalayas down, they brought with them their tradition of the Vedas, the Vedic scriptures. And when these two cultures fused, it was like they were each other's missing half. That the Vedas had all the theoretical understanding, and the Agamas, the scriptures of the south and the people there, had all the practical understanding, and they sort of fused. And there's a quote that says, the Vedas are the path, but the Agamas are the horse, i.e. the vehicle that can take you down that path. So when the Vedic Aryans met the Dravidians of the south, their forms of the divine fused, and the form for Shiva of the south was given the Vedic name Shiva. It was like the Vedic Aryans, they had been writing about the divine, but the Dravidians had actually experienced and met those divine beings, and it was like, wow, what you're talking about sounds exactly like Shiva. I think our gods are the same god. So there's a fun, lesser known fact about Shiva for you. It applies not just to Shiva, but also many of the blue and dark-skinned forms of the divine, like Kali and Krishna. Incidentally, both Kali and Krishna mean blue or dark-skinned ones. Thank you, David's mom, for your pair of roses. Om Harim Namah Shakti Shivaya. Hello, Olivia. Dear Samantha, you ask, if I wanted to move out of America, what country would I go to? Well, given that I already live in Canada, I'd probably go to Canada. Since I am a Canadian and not, in fact, an American. If for whatever reason I was in America, I'd go back here to my home. I'm happy to hear you like the Japa Mala, dear Olivia. And I'm happy to hear about your interest in taking care of your vessel, balancing the channel, dear Rin. Good night, dear Anazek. Thank you, David's mom. Dear Mirna, you ask, do I practice mantras during the day? Is it that I have memorized all mantras I repeat? Yes, I do mantras all throughout the day. Whenever I have a free moment, I'm chanting mantras or humming them. I love them. I even do mantras while I'm dreaming. Sometimes. Anna, you ask if I can talk about the mind work and sattvic diet. Notice that some foods have an effect on your mind. All foods have an effect on your mind. I think for some reason in our society we've been given the impression that there's a difference between drugs and food. That drugs do something to your body in a way different way that food does. But all food is drugs. All food has an effect on your physiology, your psychology. Every single thing you put in your body affects your mind, not just drugs. When you eat food that's very complicated molecularly, a lot of energy gets diverted from your cognitive processes to your digestive processes, which makes sense. You need a whole schwack of different enzymes in your metabolism to break down complicated bits of biological machinery and assemble them again into parts of your cells. Simple foods have the benefit of not doing that, and so you can keep your mind sharp even with a big meal of simple food. Having mental clarity is one of the most important privileges, luxuries that you can have. Everything that you can do to maintain some clarity of mind is important. So focus on the foods that don't take away from your ability to think, nor overactivate your mind with intense experiences. Like, really spicy food is a very exciting thing to experience, but it also can keep you up at night and it can lead to anxiety and all sorts of things. So taking care of your mind through the foods you eat is part of being a yogi. Good night, dear Jay. Dear Kalki, you're wondering if I know anything about the Baul, Indian wandering mystics who are mad for God. I'd probably be one of them if I wasn't who I was in this body. Just like Rumi, he writes in his poetry, "Go mad for God." In a good way. In a loving way, in a way that you're not harmful to others. Yes, I'm happy to hear that, dear Marlon. And hello, Adonis. I love love that, dear Cornelius. You've been living 50-50 in the forest this past week, but it's too cold to stay out there 24/7. What a wonderful thing to do, to spend time in nature, but yes. Basic needs can be very helpful. Who would have thunk? Good night, dear Rhiannon Clark. Thank you. Dear Rin, you're wondering, what is my most valuable mudra? Most valuable mudra? Namaskaram. It's a powerful mudra. Never underestimate the power of just bringing both hands together in balance. Especially before something that you want to appreciate. Something that you are grateful for. Namaskaram. Dear Gregorji, you share you once saw a yogi on here who said to say a mantra aloud is auspicious. To say it in your mind is 10 times more auspicious. To think about it, but not even say it on the mind, is even more auspicious, yes. And in fact, it's not 10 times, it's 108 times. There's about 5 different levels of chanting. There's out loud, and then whispered. Whispered is 108 times more effective than out loud. You might think it's the other way around. Wouldn't the louder I be, the more effective? But no. The subtler you are in your chanting, the more effective. Whispered is 108 times more effective than chanting out loud. Mentally chanting is 108 times more effective than whispering. Visualizing the Sanskrit letters instead of mentally chanting is 108 times more effective than that. And then the most effective way to chant is where you just bring yourself to the impulse of chanting without actually doing it. Just like before you lift your hand, there's an impulse to lift your hand. If you stop yourself at that impulse itself, that is 108 times more effective than even visualizing the letters one by one of the mantra. Why? Because the louder you are, the more worldly you are, the more engrossed in the physical. But the more withdrawn, the more subtle your chanting is, the deeper it can penetrate the innermost layers of your being, the closer you are to your soul, so to speak. But does that mean that we should all give up chanting out loud? No. I actually love chanting out loud. It's one of my favorite things. That doesn't mean you can't do the other things in addition. You can do multiple ways at the same time. Dear Anna, you share that Sadhguru said once a person can live by eating only a peanut a day. Something like that. Yes. Many yogis only eat maybe a handful of nuts or fruits a day, and that's it. Because they become so efficient. They don't radiate excess heat. They only squeeze exactly the muscles needed and only at the pressure needed to do something. When their mind is not in use, they leave it idle. They slow their heartbeat and rhythm. They literally slow their metabolism down to the minimum so they can prolong their life forces as long as possible. Many yogis believe that through our karma, we're only given a certain number of breaths in our lifetime. That once you breathe a certain million number of times, that's the time that you die, either by a piano falling on you or through natural causes. No later, no sooner. So if you're only given a certain number of breaths per life, then you should breathe as slow as you can. How do you do that? By slowing down your metabolism, your heart rate, etc. Yogis can breathe only a few breaths per minute. They are maximizing their karma. Dear Tatvamasi, you share that Shiva was so heartbroken after Sati's death that he hugged her dead body and walked around till the body rotted away. Indeed, and each part of her that fell on the earth, a temple was made. Now around India there are temples dedicated to different parts of Sati's body. Fortunately, she was able to reincarnate, and through tapas, she could take the boon of having Shiva as a husband again. John, you are wondering if I can talk on the biopsychology of dreams and their purpose on resetting emotions. How fascinating of a question. Biopsychology, what a word that is. Connection between our mind and our body. I feel my emotions very physically. I'm sure many of you do as well. I do have dreams where I wake up and I feel like something has been resolved and my body just feels better. There's a certain shine on my face, a light in my eyes, a glow on my skin, a spring in my step. Our dreams are not just random neuronic firings from electrochemical impulses. They are an expression of the experiences we've had, such as why people say we can only dream of faces we've seen before, or we can only dream of places we've seen before, that our dreams are made up of parts and parcels of the life we've had thus far. And it makes sense to me why we dream, because we gain so much input through our five senses in each moment. We could never consciously process all of that in real time. So we have to set a time aside to process those experiences. Where do those experiences go in the meantime? Well, they go into our subconscious. And then in dream, we interface with our subconscious. And what we get up to in our dream is how we attend to our subconscious. If we can bring love into our dreams, if we can try to be a good person in our dreams, then we are actively healing our subconscious. You know, if you have someone who was previously an enemy in your waking life, you make friends with them in your dreams, well, you've now settled a part of your subconscious, so you might not be so afraid of them in the waking state, for example. It's important to follow ethical principles in your dreams, too. That way you take care of your subconscious. So, dear Cornelius, on the subject of overactivate, you're wondering if you shouldn't take different brain-boosting supplements and multivitamins. The world of supplements and vitamins is not a field I'm going to go into, but take care of your brain, absolutely. Take care of your health. What we don't want is a mind that is scattered and erratic, which unfortunately can happen through energy drinks of various kinds and elevated levels of certain vitamins and things like caffeine, taurine. There's a certain point where after that threshold, you have so much energy that your mind almost starts to not break apart in a way that you should be afraid, but, you know, suddenly you have so many thoughts that it's no longer helpful to focus on any one thing in particular. So there's a balance to be had. Having enough mental energy, but not so much mental energy that you have too many thoughts to keep track of. And thank you, Strawberry Star Bunny, for your rose and rosa. Som Somaya Namaha. Dear Ortega, you're wondering, are all the chakras really there? If you're wondering if one day we'll have sufficient technology to open up the human body and find these energetic rings called chakras, then no, because they are not physical. In ancient Indian philosophy, reality exists at 3 levels: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, also called the gross, the subtle, and the causal. Chakras are part of the middle layer, so they're not part of matter. If our domain of reality is through scientific analysis of the physical, we won't find anything there called chakras. But if we explore the domain of our mind and the energetic system of our thought space, absolutely you will find concentrations of ideas, of thoughts, of feelings, of sensation and awareness, often associated with different parts of our body. We've got very highly functioning faculties up here and very taboo faculties down there, and between them is a spectrum of associations from unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and supraconscious. And it can be very helpful to meditate on these objects. Dear Kalkiji, you're asking, what is the most powerful mudra? The most potent? I don't know about the most powerful or potent mudra, but I really like the one that the Buddhists would often use when they're walking through a forest or into a new town. They hold their hands up like this. And it's said to be a universal sign that even animals can understand, a sign that I come in peace. So if you walk with your hand like this, even animals will recognize that mudra and go, this is a friend, not a foe. Carrying that intention in your heart as well. Namaste, dear Rin. Thank you, Claire Sent. I'm a little behind from the present moment of comments. Allow me a second to catch up. Rin, you're wondering what auspicious means. Auspicious, in an archaic meaning, which is the context which we mean it here, auspicious means a state in which your destiny becomes more possible. It's an elevated sense of potential arising from divine grace. It's a certain sacred boon in which you become revitalized, energized for your dreams to come true. Like when you have a sign from the universe that you're on the right path, that's very auspicious, you could say. And that is what Shiva translates to, one of the many names for the divine in India. Cornelius, you ask, how do you remember how many times you've chanted while saying it 108 times? I'm glad you asked. I bring you the technology called a mala. Why do yogis always have these things around their neck or their arms? It's their technology for keeping track of mantras, repetitions, or cycles of breath without counting mentally. It's very simple. You have exactly 108 beads, and a 109th one serves as a guru bead. It usually is adorned with a tassel or something that you can feel. So all you do is you start on the bead after the guru bead, and you do your mantra, And you don't even think about what number you're on. You just move to the next bead. That's all you have to do is move to the next bead, move to the next bead. You have no idea where you are, and you don't need to know, because the guru bead is going to tell you. Just like your guru tells you where to start and when to stop meditating, the guru bead does exactly that. So you finger your way along, chanting your mantra or doing your breath, and then, oh, I'm at the guru bead. That means I've done 108. And if you know how long it takes to do a mantra, a very simple calculation can be used to help you utilize a mala to time your meditations to a great deal of accuracy too. For example, if you know that it takes, let's say, 5 seconds to do a certain mantra, well, 108 times 5 is about 100 times 5, which is 500 seconds. 500 seconds is a little under 10 minutes, something like 8 minutes. So, one round is 8 minutes. If you wanted to meditate for approximately 15 minutes, then all you'd have to do is do 2 rounds. Feel your way to the guru bead, flip it around, do it again, and you've got a pretty good idea of how long you've been meditating without any technology other than literally beads on a string. Do it again, and you've got a pretty good idea of how long you've been meditating without any technology other than literally beads on a string. I do apologize, as my internet disconnected for a moment. Please let me know when my internet has returned. Hello, we're back. 108 is also just a significant number. It feels nice knowing some of the history behind that number. Astrologically, I shouldn't even say astrologically, astronomically, there is 108 moons that could fit between our Earth and the moon. Between the Earth and the Sun, you could fit 108 suns. And across the diameter of the Sun, you could fit 108 Earths. So 108 does have astronomical significance relating to each, the Sun, Moon, and Earth. But astrologically, there are 9 planets or celestial bodies that are considered. There's the Sun. I know it's not a planet. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, and the Moon. So the 7 planets, the Sun and Moon, that makes 9 significant celestial bodies in astrology. And along the equator, there's 12 considered constellations. So in astrology, where a certain celestial body is compared to the constellation is one astrological effect. So if you consider all possible astrological effects, that's equivalent to saying, how many celestial bodies do you consider and how many constellations? And then multiply them together. That's 9 times 12, which is, you guessed it, 108. So, while you chant on your mala for each bead, it's considered transcending one effect in astrology. By the time you've gone 108 repetitions around back to the guru bead, you should be free from any astrological effect. So those are some of the significances behind the meaning 108. Alright, and I'm probably even more in the past from all the wonderful comments that were sent. Dear Jiviri, you ask, is it alright for you to believe in no God? Of course! I can't choose what you believe in. All of our beliefs are based on our experiences. I would tell you that you've actually already experienced God. You just haven't gotten the right definition yet. And that's not your fault. I'm sure people in your life have given you a faulty definition. They say, God's up there. I don't see any God. They say God is here to bring the end of suffering to all people. I see many people that are suffering. They say that God wants you to worship Him. I don't feel like a source of the existence would want you to worship Him. They say that if you don't behave as God intends, that God will punish you. I've done a lot of things that God hasn't punished me for. So if any of those things are your definition for God, maybe it's not that God doesn't exist. Maybe it's that the definition for God needs some recalibration. But that's your personal journey and not mine. And I wish you well. Thank you, dear Sazrar, for your heartbeat. Om Ganganapataye Namah. And dear Anne, you ask, can meditation heal the body? Meditation can help with relaxation and connect you to Source, just as you do in deep sleep. We all connect with Source in deep sleep when we've severed our identification with our limited ego self and from the material world and are just in pure consciousness. And in that space, our body starts healing at a much faster rate. Meditation can do that just the same. Is it a substitute ever for medical intervention? If someone is having a heart attack, should you just tell them to meditate? If someone is diagnosed with a chronic ailment, should you just tell them to meditate? No. Get medical treatment and also meditate. Add your meditation to the medical care that you should already be getting. Oh, thank you. Oh, one with a beautiful Cyrillic name for your trio of roses. Om Ham Jum So Namah Shivaya. Adonis, you were wondering back with the topic of mantras being done silently. Is that why some monks / spiritual people take vows of silence to improve focus / meditation / chanting? Exactly. Yes. I was in your dream, dear Helois. You could tell me if I can pronounce your name better. Is it Greek? Is it a Greek name? Stevie G, you're wondering, is the breath limit really true? Many yogis do believe that there's a connection to our breath rate and our longevity. If you look at the longest living creatures on the planet, they're all creatures that breathe really slowly. And if you look at the shortest living creatures on the planet, they're almost all creatures that breathe really quickly. Cornelius, you're wondering if I have dreams warning me about a day of adversity before I even started. If my mind worked that way, probably. But I never consider having days of adversity. I just have days. There's always going to be some adversity, but I'm happy to attend to all days. And you know what? Even if I had the gift of foresight, I wouldn't choose to find out how my day was going to go. I would just allow myself to have trust that whatever comes my way, I'll be able to attend to it. Hey Lois, you asked if I think dreams can come from previous lives. Certainly. Subconscious is part of our samskaras, our impressions. Our impressions continue in the Indian philosophy from endless past lives. Dear Kalkiji, you ask, are we floating on a disc on the back of a primordial turtle with elephants on its back? Physically speaking, no. There's a reason why we have modern scientific advancements, and that's to deepen our understanding of the nature of the physical world. Spiritually speaking, yes, there's so much significance and wisdom in that. There's a lot of metaphors there we can draw from. Just because those metaphors might not have a physical reality doesn't mean that they're not true, just in a different way. The idea of a world being held up by a turtle signifies balance, especially balance in life, being part of life on earth, that this world is held up by the balance of all of its different life forms coming together. And of course, a turtle is a sign of wisdom. Wisdom is the basis for life, for balance of life, that is. Without wisdom, there can be no balance. But since thousands of years ago, we knew that the world was round. In fact, the ancient Sanskrit word for earth, bhugol, means literally round earth. Bhu is the element earth. Gol means round. Bhugol is multi-thousand-year-old name for earth. The idea that we live in a flat earth at the center of the solar system is actually recent. It's a recent misunderstanding of the Bible, I believe. But for thousands of years, in India especially, they knew the world has always been round, and that the sun was at the center. They said that Chandra Lok orbited Bhurlok, that the moon plane orbits the earth plane. The earth plane, Bhurlok, orbits Surya Lok. The earth plane orbits the sun plane. And in fact, they didn't stop there. They knew about the center of the galaxy too. They said that Surya Loka orbits Brahma Lok, the ultimate plane, which is nowadays we recognize as the supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A star, at the center of our galaxy. Ah yes, ashwagandha is very good for relaxation, dear Cornelius. Can I discuss about abstaining from self-pleasure in terms of retaining this energy? I wouldn't recommend suppressing your sexual urges. That's almost never healthy. But if you really want to transform that urge when it arises, what you can do is draw it up the spine. We feel a physical sensation in our organs of procreation when we're aroused. If we can take that sensation up the spine into the heart, I know it sounds weird, but you gotta try it. And if you know, you know. Then that feeling, it's almost like a flower blossoms in your heart and you just get this ecstasy. It's like experiencing climax without the problems of objectification and release of energy and things like that. You experience the bliss just in another way. It's very beautiful. Hey Lois, you ask, what is superconscious? It's like conscious, but super. Just being more and more aware. Usually it refers to a state of samadhi, a state of intimate, intuitive knowingness, where whatever you are focused on, you just become one with. It feels like that, at least. Dear Kuang, you can tell me if I can pronounce your name better. What do I think of Buddhism? Well, I know Buddhism tells me not to think, so there's your answer. And yeah, that's right. And prayer beads are found in all religions. Good morning, dear Michelle. Dear Amal, you had asked, how can you find your purpose? Our purpose is very simple. I think we get confused in our individualistic society as if we all have different purposes. But actually, all of our purposes is the exact same. It's very simple. We are the only beings on the planet capable of taking care of the whole planet. All animals have the ability to take care of another animal. Human beings are the only animals that have the ability to take care of all plants and animals and life. That's our purpose. Our purpose is to take care of each other. And it couldn't be more simple than that. Take care of Mother Earth and all its inhabitants. For us, that means finding our own unique way. And maybe that's where we get confused, is how exactly we go about being of service to others. For that, I'd ask you what your skills are. What is your unique inclinations and talents, hobbies? What are your unique aspects that you bring to the world? It is through that you will be of service. But on a day-to-day basis, it just means being kind, doesn't it? If every one of us just engaged in acts of kindness in a day, our world would get better day by day. Dear Mofi, you had asked, what is the significance of the Rudraksha Mala? It comes from Rudra, which is a name for Shiva, and Aksha, which means the eye. Rudraksha therefore means that which has come from the eye of Shiva. In other words, it's Shiva's tears. They're helpful for meditating, something that yogis fidget with in a spiritual sense to keep their mind focused on their mantras or their pranayama. But the story behind the Rudraksha is that when Shiva is deep in meditation, tears of ecstasy are flowing from his eyes, and off his cheek roll off these tears that become the Rudraksha seeds that have implanted themselves in the Himalayas. As such, they carry a certain kind of vibration to them. Or you can actually see for yourself that there is a certain vibration that's been encoded onto the surface through the little perturbations in their growth while the fruit was growing around them. Each one is unique. It has like a fingerprint to them. They're very bumpy and wavy. Very similar to the idea of acoustic baryon oscillations. If you've ever studied the cosmic microwave background, the vibrations of the baryons at the beginning of time have become the basis for the structure of the cosmic filaments. So we can see the vibrations of the early particles in the universe just by looking at the physical shape of all of these galaxy clusters. So too, the physical vibrations of the formation process of these Rudraksha seeds can be seen in their form. Christopher, you had asked, is grace a collaborative endeavor? Absolutely. It wouldn't be grace if we didn't come together. Amal, you had asked about dealing with feelings of despair. If you're ever feeling in despair, breathe. Take a moment to yourself. Remember that this too shall pass. There's always something to be hopeful for. It's not true that the world is coming to an end, or that something bad is going to happen to you, or that you've messed up in an irreparable way, and that you'll never find happiness, or that people aren't going to come together for harmony. All of that takes time. It takes a lot of time. Healing, togetherness. Have faith in that. Dear Cornelius, you thought grace was letting go and embracing what you can't control. That's what's necessary for grace to come. Indeed. To be receptive to grace, we first have to let go and embrace what we can't control. Leave that in the hands of the divine. That holistic mama you had asked, how can you connect with your lost loved ones? They never come to you in dreams or in meditation. Really? If you think of them right now, are you unable to see their face or hear their voice? If you can just think of them, that is them coming to you. They have imparted an impression in you, a living impression, such that just by reminiscing about them, you are welcoming their energy into your life again. That is the connection itself. Dear Rochelle, you ask, how does one deal with toxic people that get under your skin? You need guidance. I don't consider anyone toxic. I consider people unloved. Maybe they need a little love in their life. And if they're trying to get some sense of that in an unhealthy way, then you just set boundaries with them, that's all. If they're depending on something that they need to discover in themselves, then grant them the grace of space for them to discover that within themselves. But no person is toxic. There are no such thing as toxic people. All people are wonderful beings deep down. They might have been hardened by adversity in life, and it doesn't give them the excuse to be unkind. But we can love them from a distance, support them in their journey from afar, and take care of this body and this mind. Your true self is that. Nothing can take anything about you away from you. If something leaves you, it wasn't you. Because how could you be over here going, oh no, there I am, all the way over there now. So nobody can take you away from yourself. If you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, that either means you haven't recognized how it's still with you now, or how it was never a part of you to begin with, and that everything you already are is always here. I'm happy you like the Bhagavad Gita, dear Ortega. Dear Sazra, you ask, are there any religions that I find I can't resonate with? There are some that I have more difficulty resonating with, but that's a fault within me. That's my inability to look past my own preconceived notions and find the beauty. But absolutely, I know that if I worked through those limitations of mine, that I would be able to resonate more easily with all the religions of the world. Hello, dear Zach. Dear Myrna, you ask, why are all planets and stars round? Very good question. It's because gravity pulls equally in all directions. You can actually predict the shape of objects based on the symmetries of the forces that act on them. For example, when you spin something for a really long time, you can predict that it'll become cylindrically symmetric in some way, because that centripetal force is a cylindrically symmetric force. You can predict that large bodies under the force of gravity are going to be spherical because gravity is a spherically symmetric force. You can predict that things under the effect of magnetism are often going to be I forget the term for the symmetry of two poles. A polar symmetry, we'll just say. Because magnetism is a polarly symmetric force. So if you know the symmetry of the force, then you can predict the shape of the object under that force. Earth is mostly spherical and a little bit cylindrical, bulging at the equator, because it's mostly under a gravitational force, which is spherically symmetric, and a little bit under that centripetal force, which is cylindrically symmetric. Dear Anne, you share, there are people that are so negative, and that is toxic. The toxic trait is never in another person, it's in ourselves for bringing our mind to those things. Actually, if we are so focused on another person's negativity, then that's something within ourselves to work on. True positivity doesn't mean creating an echo chamber of positive people in your life. You can be surrounded by negative people, but if you yourself choose to see the positive in them, then you will live a very happy and carefree life. Dear Internal Silence, you share, Nish had his YouTube channel taken down. Oh my goodness! Why is that? Nish, bye. Oh. Dear God Complex, you share that everybody asks how the universe came to be, but nobody asks why. Exactly. We're so caught up in the process, but not the purpose. Oh, my phone is buzzing. Thank you for telling me, dear Anna. Yes, that's right, dear Tano. I meant ellipsoidal for the shape of the earth. Thank you. Dear Stevie G, you ask, how can one just see the positive in someone regardless of how they aren't? Because nobody is purely negative. They might be 99% negative, but even if it's 1%, even if it's 0.1%, if you can pay attention to that, that's our duty as human beings. And part of paying attention to that positive means paying attention to the possibility in them to be less negative. So that doesn't mean ignoring the negative by paying attention to the positive. Part of being positive means that you acknowledge someone's ability to grow out of their habits, and you believe in that, and you support them in that. whilst also taking care of your own needs and boundaries in case that you are affected by how they are at the moment. The reason that's important spiritually is for the sake of our happiness, our peace. That if we are looking for the faults in others, then we just won't be happy people. If we feel like we're surrounded by people that are full of all these faults, then our own perception turns our life into a kind of misery. So if we want to be happy, it absolutely befits us to look for something in another, no matter how negative they may be in other areas in their life, in the positive. Take inspiration from everyone, even your quote-unquote enemies, even people that might not be well-wishers of you. Be well-wishers of them. Dear Kalki-ji, you ask about a Bodhisattva. How different is that from the title of Buddha? Sanskrit-wise, they both come from the root Bud, which means to awaken. Buddha means the one who is awakened, the awakened one. Bodhi means awakening. And Sat means true. Twa means ness. Sattva means truthfulness or something like that. Goodness. Bodhisattva therefore means the awakening of truthfulness or the awakening of goodness. So you can be in the process of awakening your goodness without being a Buddha. But all Buddhas were at least at one point Bodhisattvas in the process of awakening their Sat, their truth, their inherent goodness. Philosophically speaking, the Buddha is a very rare title. Very few beings are given the title of Buddha, but all of you could be considered Bodhisattvas. In the Mahayana tradition, a Bodhisattva is one who seeks the welfare of others, the enlightenment, the liberation of others before their own. Yeah, absolutely God complex. In that sense, Christ was a Bodhisattva or a Buddha. Absolutely. Anna, you ask, how are we all the same but totally different? Same consciousness, different minds and bodies. Same source. Same destiny, same purpose. Different ways of discovering that destiny, fulfilling that purpose. Good night, Adonis. Dear Sazra, you ask, what's the best method to calm down if you feel irate by someone's behavior towards you? Remember that feeling irate is punishing yourself for other people's behavior. Because being frustrated, annoyed, upset, does it punish them or does it punish you? Does it take away from them or you? It takes away from you, doesn't it? So why give someone else the ability to take your peace away for their own actions? Their own actions are an expression of the lack of peace within them. That's already their karma. Don't take that on yourself. Know that they are exactly where they need to be in their journey, and the consequences of their own actions will bite them in the butt. Let the universe take care of that for you. You don't have to play karma police. Give yourself the grace of not carrying that weight. Don't give them the pleasure of being upset by their own inner turmoil. Thank you, dear Zen. Happy Tuesday, dear Michael. Dear Sarah, you ask, how do you fight spiritual paranoia? What is spiritual paranoia? Dear Sarah, could you tell me more about that? Dear Xan, you ask, is telepathic communication possible? Just ask a mother. They'll tell you yes. Thank you, dear Koli, for your heart me that you sent. Dear Rachel, you're wondering if I'm from Van Isle. I live on Vancouver Island. I was born in Calgary, Alberta, however. Dear Stevie G, something you'd like to understand is, how can you control how someone or something affects you? Any practices? It's about a lack of control, ironically. It's about accepting that which you can't control, that other people's behaviors you can't control, and an emotional response is often a resistance to something that you want to control. You want them to be a certain way, but you can't. So through acceptance, through a kind of letting go of a sense of control, the emotional response also lowers. This comes from understanding your purpose, that your purpose is not to affect another person's. Your duty in life is to be the best version that you can be, not for others to be the best version that they can be. That's their journey. Noor, you share, it's an ish you, not an is me. I've never heard that. That's great. Oh, thank you, dear Millie Play. Dear Okay, it's believing me, Jackie. You're wondering what the blue heart thing is on my microphone? That's a sweet potato. Yeah, just in the shape of a turnip looking. I've got all sorts of different little characters on the Yamsox. Dear Cornelius, you ask, can you visualize the idea of looking at yourself, not in a mirror or in a reflection or the body, internally? That can be a great meditation. It's a great meditation for the third eye, actually. Dear Rachel, you're wondering if I grew up religious or spiritual. No, not at all. I grew up very skeptical and actually quite an angry person, to be honest. I had all sorts of frustrations with the world, and I've come a long way. So Sarah, thank you for sharing. Forcing a psychic bond over the years, but major paranoia of the supernatural these days. It's very interesting. I would tell you that everything good is all you need to bring your attention to. Don't let your mind ruminate on anything that is fear-based. Fear-based is never based in reality, because reality, once understood properly, is something that leaves you fulfilled, in a state of understanding, wholeness, and completion. If any thought does not give you that, then it's not a thought that deserves your attention. Focus on the positives and not removing the negatives. Removing the negatives is a kind of negativity itself. Negative comes from the root negate, which means to remove. If you try to remove something negative from your life, you're only adding negativity. Right? It's funny, it works like that, hey? If you try to take something away from your life, then even if that thing is negative, we are still introducing a kind of negativity. This applies to negative energies and people and forces. If we try to separate ourselves from anything, we are ultimately creating a more isolated world for ourselves. So, don't think about it in terms of trying to take any part of your life away. Just add to it. Add proper boundaries where they need to be. Add love, understanding, affirmation, acceptance. Take care of your body and mind. Focus on what you can add to your life, and your life will continue to get more and more peaceful. You will gain confidence, courage, and a sense of purpose, presence. Goodbye, dear Noor. Ta-ta. Thank you. Peace, love, unity, respect. God complex, you ask, is it possible to cultivate a shield of self-worth so that hurtful words cannot hurt you? I would say we always going to have a tender, soft spot in our heart where another person's words affect us. And I hope that that's true, because I want to always value another person's words. That I don't mind getting upset every now and then by another person's words. If they're harsh, I kind of want them to stab me a little bit. I have enough self-worth to not ruminate it on too much, but at a strange level, I like feeling attentive to another person's feelings, even if those words are not particularly helpful. I keep my heart a little tender, so I feel that pain, but I have enough tools to process it. That way I don't put walls up to keep me from feeling anything. And that's the problem. We can put walls up to keep us from feeling insults, but then we also keep us from feeling compliments. And maybe that's a path that works for you. You want to neither be attached to compliments or insult, praise or blame. But it's not the path that I prefer at this moment. I like being sensitive. I enjoy my feminine side, but I balance that with the masculine side of solidarity and stillness, and I can have a refuge if I ever get too absorbed in any of that stuff. Okay, it's Believe in Me, Jackie. You ask, do I believe in spiritual healing? Or do I do spiritual healing and believe in them? Well, there are impersonators of me on this platform that appear to offer such services, which I don't do. Everything I do is free. And if you get any spiritual healing from me, it'll be natural without any payment required, just by being in this space regardless. I will never charge a dime for any of that. But if you are receptive to it, it is there. Kalki Ji, you ask, how do you rise like a phoenix from the ashes? Just like Shiva smothered his arms in ash as a sign of the fact that everything material has an end, but the inward part of his being, the consciousness, does not have an end. That truth, that Atma Vidya, knowledge of the self, is what allows you to rise from the ashes of life. No matter what gets burned and brought down to pieces, you will always be whole, forever above as the higher self. Thank you, dear Rachel. Xan, you had asked, how do you cope with feelings of regret and wishing to change your past choices? Learn from them. Your duty is not to change the past, it's to be changing in the present. If you are changing in the present, then that's all you have to do. No mistake is ever a permanent blemish on your track record. No part of the universe is going to judge you for your past. We are only ever judged for how we are now. In this moment, if you are open to grow, that's enough. Your happiness is found, not locked away by some specific set of choices that if you fail, you'll never be happy. You always have the opportunity to experience happiness in this moment, regardless of the mistakes you've made. So take accountability, be humble, forgive yourself, and just breathe. Enzo, you ask, do I believe in aligning with timelines and parallel universes? I think there is a truth to that. Yeah. We are always in the process of manifesting the world we want to see with the intentions we hold in our heart. And G is here. G to infinity. Yippee! Hello. Reminds me, I'm getting pretty late with my live stream. I should probably think about wrapping this up. We might have to. I have to transition through the comments quickly. I do like to change the background music up every now and then, dear Cheese Pickle. We also have ASMR Sundays. It's beautiful, Cornelius. Inevitable, you find it so hard not to watch the news now. I think you will get to a state where it'll be just harder to keep watching, if you know what I mean. From the effect that it has on you, it'll be much more helpful to just keep your mind more focused on your local community and the peoples in your life. If there's anything you need to be aware of, you will be made aware of it by some other means. Thank you, dear Rachel. Much love, dear Sarah. Thank you for your follow, dear Moon Girl and Rachel. Soul Symphonics, you ask, is enlightenment a permanent state or something we move in and out of? It's like happiness. It's always there, but we do tend to move in and out of happiness. It's our natural state. We can always rest in it. Exactly, Jackie. Being able to take on people's negative comments are okay if you have the tools to handle them. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. How do you do that? Asks Stevie G. You spend a lot of time to yourself. You give yourself ample time to process. Cornelius, you ask, if your true self is always standing just behind your field of view, how can you focus on it? The truth is you can't. The seer cannot be the seen, the knower cannot be the known, the hearer cannot be the heard. But what you can do is begin to see how every part of your experience is a reflection of that sight. Hear how every part of your experience is a reflection of that hearer. It's indirect, like a reflection is, but it is still the same light, and that includes everyone in your life. Thank you, dear Jackie. It's funny, dear Cornelius. I know what you mean. Sazra, you're at the stage where it's harder to watch the news. You don't watch the news anymore, dear Amy. I trust that everything the universe needs me to be aware of, it will bring to me. You're hurting tonight, dear Shelly Belly? Well, there's space for you here. My best wishes for you. Dear Sarah, you ask if I do Reiki. If you're asking if I'm certified, no. If you're asking if there's a pranic transmission while you are in the audience, as long as you consent to it. Thank you, dear Cornelius. I hope everything I say is understood as merely coming from my experience. And if there's something in it that doesn't resonate with your own, then please disregard what I have to say. Only if we can see the truth in it together and the overlap of our experience, then I want you to listen to my words. But I trust your judgment. Dear Rachel, you're wondering about the way I speak. Does it come naturally or is it practiced? I think I've had a lot of time to practice being natural. I've had to unlearn a lot of speaking habits, that's for sure. And it changes based on the context. Different context brings out a different natural expression. But it takes practice to be authentic. It does, it's funny. Alright, I have a question of the day for all of you. But you know what, before I ask the question of the day, I think it's time for another ruminations. There we go. Waiting for the scene to load. Yes, you may, dear Cornelius. Very honored, thank you. I think I've watched the video, Faithful Being. Let's continue where we left off in the pocket rooming. Here we are in Ghazals. This poem's called Who Are You and What Do You Want? You're welcome, G. He said, "Who is at the door?" I said, "Your humble slave." He said, "Why have you come?" I said, "To offer salams." He said, "How long will you wait?" I said, "Until your call." He said, "How long will you boil?" I said, "Until you resurrect me." I laid claim to love, swore oaths of love, and told how I lost all power and position for love. He said, "The judge asks to see your witness." "These tears," I said, "these pale cheeks." "Your witness has bloodshot eyes and cannot be trusted," he said. I said, "By your high justice, they are just and true." He said, "Who was your companion?" I said, "Your gift of imaginal vision." He asked, "What called you here?" I replied, "The fragrance of your cup." "What do you want?" He inquired. "Faithfulness and intimacy, I answered. What do you want from me? He said. Your subtle grace, I said. Where is the greatest pleasure? He tested. In Caesar's palace, I answered. And what did you see there? 100 fascinations. He said, then why is it so desolate? For fear of thieves, I answered. Who is the thief? He said. Whatever challenges our vanity, I replied. Where is safety? He said. In abstinence and pure consciousness of God. What is abstinence? He asked. I said, the way of peace. Where is catastrophe? In the street of your love. How do you travel there? He asked. With integrity, I said. Silence. If I were to utter more, you would be completely gone, left without a door or roof. Thank you. That poem was called Who Are You and What Do You Want? That mindful self-restraint at the end there. Inner clarity, purification through conscious discipline. Wonderful. Is that my question of the day? Ask God complex. No, it's not. Sorry. Let me go back to Manana so I can ask the question of the day. Okay, it's Believe in Me, Jackie. You're wondering what my cultural background is. Spoken as a white boy, the answer is not much. Although my ancestry is Irish and there's lots of Irish culture there. My question of the day today is how to console travel anxiety. Suppose one were to begin on another quest, a quest that would perhaps take them to new places, with new people, to experience new things. How might one console such travel anxiety? Dear Fast Mind, you're wondering, what's my name? Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy? No, just kidding. My name is Liam, with a Y, L-Y-A-M. By interpreting it as travel excitement. Well said, dear God complex. Yes. You never traveled. You're anxious to, shares faithful being. Well, may this be a question that helps console you. Karina, you share, when you said to yourself, who are you? You started crying. Why? Because your tears answered your question. Golden Goddess, you share that life is a journey. Everything is a reflection of the self, and we have to choose how we view it. Well said. Sadhu. Plan ahead. Set goals, shares Jackie. Yeah. Rachel, you shared the excitement, the new experiences, and trust in the calling in your heart to want to go. I like that. Miley Play, you share anxiety means slow down for me, small tasks. I like that. Break it down into small little tasks. Magdalene, you share? Lots of stimming toys. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Why do you think I have so many malas? And my manjira. Instruments. Hello, Cece. Oh, I love that, Riri. Moon Girl, you share reading. I like that. If it's prescribed, yes, some medication can be helpful for that. Dear God complex. Thank you, Karina, for your heart me. Inevitable, you share. Remember, wherever you are still in you. Go inside you and feel home. Beautifully put. Sazra, you share that Pokemon Go helps either your travel anxiety. It focuses your kind of something positive about your journey. Yeah, I understand. I like that. What kind of Pokemon am I gonna catch? That's fun. Always take a book, shares Moon Girl. Shrihasya Chitrakar, you share. If you can't be comfortable anywhere in the universe, boy, do you got a problem. Yeah. Journaling, shares Sai. Ah. Spoken from experience, I imagine. Don't forget your charger, shares. Okay, it's Believe in Me, Jackie. Yeah. Make sure you bring all the essentials. Thank you, Karina, for your team bracelet too. And did I thank you, dear Dob Darker, for your most recent heart me? I thank you again, just in case. It's funny, Sai. Yep, that can help. I like all these answers. Good night, dear Millie Play. Plan A and Plan B, that's right. That's okay, Sasra. Your comment came through. Melinda, you enjoyed turbulence on a plane. It's like a roller coaster. Once you get into that do or die spirit, you really just surrender. You start to enjoy all the things that used to make you afraid. Absolutely, Cornelius. Yeah. The fear of unknown often brings uncertainty about how we're going to live in our new places, new cultures. Golden Goddess, you share. Everyone and everything is a reflection of Bhagavan. Find the divine and you'll find light in darkness. Tadastu. It's good to look at nature on your journey, shares Sasrar. Oh yes, spend lots of time in it. Take lots of breaks. You're always the driver, Samra. You share. You take in every new person, place and thing you see. Pure enjoyment. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. And don't forget to bring your open mind and heart, plus soul, and hope to learn things. Yes. The fear of vomiting, shares Sandra. I share that fear. Yeah. One of the least comfortable things there is. To have your insides become your outsides. Cornelius, you share your first night in the forest. Oh, you're really spending time in the forest, I see. You didn't sleep, but you get comfortable as you establish yourself in a small spot. Gardening, Gregor G, you once heard that anxiety is a form that imagination takes. Perhaps we can usher our imagination towards something that we are fond of, like the nature flying by us on our way. Beautiful. Sarah, you share reality as your travel anxiety. Health issues, money, so prep time, taking care of yourself. Well said. All right. Thank you everyone for exploring this question of the day. We could continue, but I'm getting a little late and I didn't intend on going for this long. I have a most wonderful end to our meditation, or most end with a meditation for our live stream today. I think you'll really enjoy this. If you have any more advice for travel anxiety, you're welcome to share it in chat regardless. We can explore this topic at another time as well. May you have a good night, dear Jackie. Let's transition to Nididhyasana. I've traveled. Now we can introduce our final segment of the Sangha. Oh, this is a sweet treat. Tonight we are going to listen to a beautiful song performed by Krishna Das. It's called the Hanuman Chalisa. Some background for you. If you've ever heard of Ram Das, who was a great spiritual orator who passed away several years ago, he studied under the teacher named Neem Karoli Baba, who gave him the name Ram Das, which means servant Das of a form of Vishnu known as Rama. That guru gave very similar names to all his devotees. One of them was Krishna Das, the servant or devotee Das of Krishna, another form of Vishnu. They knew each other, they were very close. Krishna Das is still alive. And whereas Ram Das got the Guru's grace of lecturing, Krishna Das got the Guru's grace of kirtana, of reciting the holy names of the divine in song. He's a very skilled musician. Was it you, Bubbles, that planted the seed for us to listen to this rendition of it? I think it was. The Hanuman Chalisa is an ancient song that enumerates the names of Hanuman, which is said to be the avatar of Krishna Das's guru, Neem Karoli Baba. So without further ado, let me pause the background music so that we can watch this professionally videotaped recording of the Hanuman Chalisa as sung by Krishna Das. Allow me to bring it up for you now. Apparently, they started spontaneously singing the Hanuman Chalisa at 4 in the morning at Brahma Muhurta. So if you want to look it up on YouTube, it's called the 4 a.m. Chalisa, which is just fantastic. Here it is on screen for you now. If you want to do some research, I recommend looking into all of the benefits that are said to be received just by listening to this sacred song. Let's begin.
Guru Charna Saroja Raja Vijamanam Guru Sudha Arano Raghuvara Bimala Jasu Rodaya Kupalacha Uddin Tanu Janake Sumiram Bhavan Kumar Siyaram Alabuddha Vidya Dev Mohi Haru Kale Subhika Ramachandra Padje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Gyana Guna Sagar Ekati Sati Loka Vijam Ramadutta Atulita Baladama Anjani Putra Pavana Suttam Mahavira Vikram Bhajarami Matnivara Sumati Kesam Kanchana Varana Virata Subesa ध्वजा विराजे कांडे मूज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंद तेज प्रताप महारण विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करबे को प्रभु चरित सुनबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता सूक्ष्म रूप धरिसि अंधकार विकट रूप धर रंग चला भीम रूप धर असुर संहार रामचंद्र के गाय आय सजीवन अगम जियाय रघुवीर शिव लाय रघुपति की मौत पराय सहस्रपदन तुम्हारो जस गाऊं अस करि श्रीपति कंद लगाऊं सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद शारद सहित तम कुबेर दिगंबर जहांति तुम गोविंद कर सके गांति तुम उपकार सुग्रीवन की नाम मिलाए मरो मंत्र विभीषण लंकेश्वर भय सब जगजान युग सहस्र जोजन परमान दिव्योताई मरुमरदान प्रभु मुद्रिका मिले मुखमाई चरण लंके गए अक्षर जमाई दुर्गम कार्य जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे नाम दुआरे तुम्हार कवारे ओतना जब सुख लाए तुम्हारी शरण तुम्हारा चक्कारू कोदर आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोकांग निकांते रुद्र शासन कत नहीं आवे महावीर जगन्नाथ सिंह नासे रोग हरे सब पीड़ जपत निरंतर संकट देन मान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन दायो बफार राम तपस्वी राजन इनके गान सुकल तुम साथ और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोए अमित जीवन बल भाव चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा हे पर सिद्ध जगत उजिया साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि निधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता नाम रसायन तुम्हारे पास रघुपति के दास हरे भजन राम तो पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख विसरावे अंधकार रघुवर पुर जाए जहाँ जन्म होगा और देवता चित्त न धरई हनुमत से सब सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलई जय जय हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई वो सतवार पाठ कर कोई छुट ही बंदी महासुख हो यह पर हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्ध साकी गारीस तुलसीदास सदा हर चेर पीछे नादर कवन तनय संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ति रूप सियाराम राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसो सुरभु यावर रामचंद्र पद के शरण Mangalamurti Marutananda Sakala Mangalamuranikanna Mangalamurti Marutananda Sakala Mangalamuranikanna Om Namo Bhagavate Paramanandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Panchaminandaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Paramanandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramanandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Panchaminandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Paramanandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Paramanandaya Om Namo Bhagavate Panchaminandaya
Thank you very much for listening with me. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Thank you, Bubbles. The Hanuman Chalisa tells the story of Hanuman rescuing Sita for his lord Rama. Sita was tricked and captured by Ravana. Hanuman went on this crazy AF adventure to free her. It's why Hanuman is seen as the perfect devotee and encapsulates bhakti. And indeed, there are many layers of the story, as Rama represents the Atman, and Sita represents the Jiva. Atma is the true self, and Sita is the limited self. And don't be fooled into thinking the limited self is your enemy on the path, because Sita is not the enemy of Rama. Sita is the beloved of Rama. Our corporeal form is the beloved of our higher self. She was tricked by Ravana, a demon with 10 heads. What also comes in 10 are the 5 karmendriyas plus 5 jnanendriyas. These are the 5 organs of knowledge and action. It is through our perceptions and activities in the world that we get tricked and ultimately get kidnapped. But through Hanuman, which is loving devotion, bhakti, and shakti, energy, feminine spirit, she comes and saves us and returns our limited self back to the unlimited and infinite Atma, that is Rama. Namaste. That concludes our Nididhyasana, and with it, our reading, or our whole live stream. What were we reading? I don't know. We read a lot of things. We read some Rumi. We read the 12th chapter of The Journey Home. Both of those things will be put on my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel in their own playlists, as well as the whole live stream. So, in case you feel like you missed anything, don't worry. That channel is there for you. Thank you, dear Reina Priyaji, for your rosa. Om Brahm Hanumate Namah. And Inevitable, thank you for your heart mate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, I imagine they did at least once, dear Gregorji. And Ram Das is certainly forever with Krishna Das in spirit. Good night, dear Anne. Good night to this whole community. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmamritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to the light, from death to deathlessness. May there be peace in us, may there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Thank you to my lovely moderators for helping keep the peace. If there's anything I can do to make this space more inclusive to everyone or anyone next time, please let me know. Thank you, Golden Goddess Priya. Until next time, dear Jackie, be well. I echo what Gardening Gregorji has written. Good night and much love to each of you. I am so happy you are here in this life. Good night, Sazrar. Namaste, dear Inevitable. Good night, Riri. I continue to have you and Ivy in my prayers. Regardless of if this is your night, your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whatever time it is for you in the world. Thank you, dear Golden Goddess, for your heart mate. Om Mani Padme Hum. May you have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Namaste.